Well, hello everybody. Welcome and welcome back to Midlanders. This is Goblin Stone session 15 now, where we find our heroes another time of peace, a place where they can sort of get their bearings and let their sort of addled and tension-addled wits sort of restore themselves. Last session, the invasion on the market square was resolved with the frantic and clever actions of our heroes. Goblins pouring into the square from multiple quarters, with sort of each hero taking an area, dispatching multiple foes, and taking some heavy hits. Townsfolk went down, and some of them were not able to be revived. The attention of the two alchemists or the other folks with medicine in the town. But after seeing to as many wounded as possible and doing what each could to soothe their nerves enough, the party managed to sleep, resting and meditating. In the morning, a few of them, at least so far, Lokag and Millie and Clifford and I believe Helena have moved over to the eatery in the pub and are now enjoying a meal of mixed things. It's not sort of poor fare, but it's certainly not a menu put together anymore. It's sort of what the village has left, as it was used to having sort of fresh produce and meats come in every day. And so now it's a heavy barley and root stew with thick bread, but all of it's fresh and fairly plentiful, at least for the day. And that's where we will come back into it. Let's see here. DL, I'm not sure we can see you on camera. I'm checking real quick. Alright, checking real quick. Yeah, I'm not sure what's up. Let me fix that. Just another moment. Sorry about the dead air, everybody. There we are. Alright. So as I had mentioned, you all are now mostly, and I'll go ahead and move everyone's tokens over to this section, and I'll bring us over onto the map soon. But for now, most of you are across the square. X, I think we had left off with you leaving out. You had meditated the night, or the rest of the evening, on one of the rooftops, listening to the sounds of the city, and sort of, taking in your resumed position among the higher and middling powers of the world. So, how did Helena, as far as Helena, how did Helena spend the rest of her evening? Does she sleep late, wake up early, or?
I think she stays up a little late and wakes up a little late. Rat's favorite time of day is evening, going over all of the leftovers and pickings from a day that's just gotten to be too much for everyone to worry about what's left. I think she probably does a little bit of scavenging herself and maybe kind of checks in to see where some of her favorite rat friends are at, to see if they're okay.
Okay. Awesome. Well, let's go ahead and see an investigation check for any scavenging you do through the night. And a survival check as well, to see if you can track down some of your rat friends. They're some of the first to flee danger, so at least out in the city you expect them to be well hidden.
Investigation and what was the
Survival.
other one? Survival.
Mm-hmm.
18.
All right, give me just a moment. All right, so as far as the investigation, in the aftermath of the battle, you went over the corpses of the goblins, getting some of the still standing townsfolk and those who weren't tending the wounded or improving the barricades under the direction of the rest of your allies. You managed to, get a few of them into service, hauling off the stuff that you're not immediately claiming. You gave a portion of gold that you found back to everybody, but you did pocket about 5 gold in silver pieces. Additionally, you managed to, a good scavenger you are, you had some of the others go over the goblins and take them out of their armor. So there's some chain, shirts, and leather armor that at least work as sort of leather breastplates for the larger townsfolk. There's some serviceable weapons, but mostly sort of shoddy, maybe one-use spears, best used as javelins. Some of the metal is good, but you get a good supply of at least of arrows and crossbow bolts. A lot of them are in pretty rough shape too, but they're great for just one use, being fired into a wave of goblins. Probably plenty for your townsfolk, your defenders of the square. There were a few of the armored Shatterbone goblins with chain shirts, heavy iron banded shields, and spiked maces that are not attractive, but they're well made. The daggers and scimitars on a few of them as well. So, all this sort of gets gathered and put underneath tents out front of Mildred's Arms and Armor. But when you slip out, perhaps climbing under or over one of the barricades, or slipping through when they're being improved, you manage to sneak out into the alleys. Not too far, and you manage to stay well hidden. But the first thing that you notice as you're out, some of the back alleys have some very large flagstones. You've seen some of them kicked up or broken in certain places in the city, and they're only about 5 inches thick. They could be probably used, and there's enough of them that they could be moved and stacked up. You could probably wall in a couple of the smaller alleys by taking up some of these flagstones, and it's just the alley to the east of the square. So some close by building materials that could be used. But that's all that you really find with your scavenging.
So were the armor and all the weapons and stuff, were those organized already?
No, I mean you went through and sorted, and then just probably you're able to, if there's a couple of people that you can grab to get them to take it off and stack it up for you. But it's up to you.
Yeah.
How do you handle it?
That's what I was thinking. It was kind of getting some of the wharf rats. Or did any of them survive?
Yep.
By the way, okay.
Two of them needed a good rest, but yeah.
Well, the ones that could hold off for just a few more hours and just help me with a little bit more. I want us to organize all that stuff to for everyone's disposal. But I specifically, did she find any arrows? I could use some scavenged arrows.
You managed to replenish, get a full quiver of 20 good arrows, solid arrows. There's probably a total of 2 more quivers of solid arrows and another quiver of bolts that are serviceable. The rest of them are good chance they're going to break on use. They're -1 to damage. They're just not really well made.
The quiver I found.
Yeah, but you fill up. You have a quiver of solid arrows.
Okay. That's all that matters. Well, I mean, I did all that work for all the other people. They could find their own good arrows. All she wants is some good arrows. So. And then I think after that, I think she'd make herself a nice little nest out of some of the like nicer fabrics and stuff that she found, and curl up in it, hoping that some of her favorite friends join her.
Okay, so are you like curling up outside or
So
where?
I think she feels better. That's what she's used to sleeping.
Okay.
But just like outside the tavern, maybe like is there like under like is like under the porch or something like that, a place like that I could kind of hide under and sleep.
Yeah, there's definitely some roof eaves you could hide under, and some sort of breaks between the paved stones that are large enough. You're pretty sure that rats will scamper in and out of there.
That sounds perfect.
So before dawn, it's still dark, pretty well before dawn. You're woken up by small little clawed hands as something walks up on you and sniffs you. You smell a familiar scent, a rat that you have a name for, an old mama rat. Kind of comes up
Hmm.
and finds you.
Good name for a mama rat. Uh, hmm. She just calls it Bubby.
Okay. So Bubby, sniffs around your pockets for some food, and finally curls up. Like, well, if you're wearing, you probably took some of your armor off to sleep. So if it can get up underneath like the lapel of your coat, that's where it usually will try to curl up.
Oh yeah, and I definitely have like some little bits of bread and cheese. I always probably got a little bit in my pocket just in case,
It
and
knows exactly
like
where to go.
my satchel, yeah, and
Yeah.
make sure it gets what it wants, and
Okay.
we
It's
we snuggle down together. I think that brings Helene a great ease and peace. Finally, something normal is happening.
it's breathing really like sort of heavily at first. When it comes up, as if it's just you can tell it's stressed out, um, and but and you might be eager to kind of communicate with it and to see where it's been, see what it knows. But as soon as it kind of gets into your coat, it takes a deep breath and gives a long, like sort of, and then its breath starts to mellow out and almost immediately falls asleep.
B. She pats it. You're so stressed out. Don't worry. I'm your hero. We're gonna take care of all this mess. And then she falls asleep too.
It's still there when you wake up. You can hear Lokag shouting to someone, slamming a door open, shouting as his heavy footsteps clatter across the stones. You hear something about food. You smell some sort of some sort of thick vegetable stew scent wafting in.
And Bubby's face sort of pokes out of my jacket, like following the scent, almost flying off my shoulder in that direction. She looks to Bubby and says, "Ah, I reckon we go that way. What do you think?"
It makes a sort of cheeping sound and crawls a little further, like down into the crook of your elbow, like it wants to crawl down your arm. Its nose, its whole body pointed out the door.
That's exactly where she goes with great stride.
Um, Folks turn and look at you. You, a few of them, almost like they start to say something, uh, but don't. You can make an insight check as you pass. It's still pretty early. It's just before dawn. X, you're above. You can hear all of this. Helene's not trying to be sneaky, so your senses are sort of attuned to your surroundings, sort of spread out from your body. Um,
10.
10, okay. You're not sure. It's a different look than what people used to give you when they'd look at you and turn away and not say anything. This looks like they wanted to say something or were about to, but you're not sure. It doesn't look like the normal sort of distasteful or biting remark being bitten back. It looks a lot less certain than a lot of the looks you've gotten in the past.
Hmm.
But you can easily fold that in with people treat you differently. You're a hero now, or whatever Helena would think.
That's definitely what she thinks, and she probably thinks they're now just like too ashamed to say anything to her.
All right. So X, you might be sort of climbing up out of your position, making your way down to the nearby alley opening and make your way across the square. But inside the Mistfield dining hall, Lokag, as you're helping yourself to a third half loaf of bread. You're trying to get small portions here and there, but you're just eating a lot more small portions. So it's like your third half loaf, your fifth quarter bowl, quarter bowl of soup.
It looks small in my hands.
I mean, technically, yeah, it probably would be more like a quarter bowl for you. The one of the owners of the Mistfield is a middle-aged woman named Wiramy. She's got dark reddish hair. It's sort of just starting to go a little silver at the temples. She is a lover of food. She is plump, but not enough that she can't move in between the tables of her establishment. She's cheerful, but there's a tone in her voice that doesn't brook any nonsense. And she's probably the only person in the entire square that seems completely unchanged from all of this. She's apologized, a few times, just conversationally, about the lack of fare. Just mentioning in passing that some of the arrivals they've been expecting have been delayed, and just sort of rolling off at the end with you understand. Tough times, says the woman. The two of you, there's some people in the dining hall as well. Some people out back in the open patio, but not many people want to stray out of sight of the fountain outside. That seems to be the central place of strength. Even the buildings moving out toward the back lots or out toward the alleyways, people start to feel unsafe. So anyone that's out there can see into the open door, into the Mistfield. But let's see an insight check for the two of you, for Lokag and for Millie.
3 for Lokag.
Okay.
12 for Millie.
So, Millie, there's eyes turn on, your group a few times. Nobody says anything, and but you get, when you see this, you can kind of feel the weight of expectation on you, and the fact that they don't say anything only makes it more intense. Just makes it feel sort of heavier. Like they know you've got a lot, and they have a lot of fears, but they don't want to voice them or ask you the 1,000 questions they have about their safety. But it is questions they want to ask you and your group, you, Cliff, and Lokag, and the others who are likely arriving soon. There's some low talk between folk. And you can sense people trying to keep the conversation light, trying to just start their day. Although, no matter how different the day is going to be, there's this sense of normalcy that seems to be clinging to the Mistfield. And it's probably in large part due to Wiramy. But you also hear some... Go ahead.
I'll lean over to Lokag. I think they are worried about what does the next day hold for them. What does it hold for us, for that matter?
Well, these days are tough times. They are times of strife and struggle. But these are what make people hard, make people great. These can break people, but from what I've seen today, the people in this town square will rise and meet this challenge. And if they do meet their death, it will be seen as a great honor in the afterlife. They are indeed a strong people. I am envious of their strength of character. I think Lokag wants to... He's going to say that pretty... I mean, he's just a loud talker. I don't think he's doing it on purpose. He's just... It's booming across the dining hall.
He's just loud.
You can see, you kind of stiffen the spines of a few people inside the mistfield. They sort of look over. You can see one of them nod to their table. Somebody else raise a mug of whatever they're drinking towards you. So, market folk, says an older man.
Market folk.
Here, here. Cheers.
Joe, you started to say something?
We helped secure some of the area. I suppose we'll wait for the others, but it was mentioned of going back in.
Yeah, it was, says Cliff. Seems like the best bet to find out what in the hell's happening. Don't you think? He kind of looks around to
To find those who've been lost.
Mm-hmm. So, Helena, I'm sure you clatter into the mistfield at this point.
To what at this point?
You clatter into the mistfield dining hall where the others are gathered eating. Eyes look up to you.
She burst through the door. My little rats. We did it. I hope you all rested well and are ready for the next phase of our action. I think her little rat kind of pokes out of her sleeve.
There is a worn, mangy, disheveled, decrepit, and ancient-looking rat that crawls out of her sleeve. It plops down onto the table and moves toward the nearest loaf of bread. Weirmy begins to opens her mouth to shout. Say again.
Bubby is not decrepit.
If you would be so kind, Helena, pets on the table, please, says Weirmy. The rest yes, Mila, you can see her, the older woman sort of struggling with her between manners and decorum.
Me, but this is not a pet. This is not a pet. This is a sentient being that makes decisions all of its own accord.
Livestock, then?
Livestock! Livestock! As to imply or insinuate that my Bubby will be eaten? Why does everyone in the city want to eat rats?
Draft animal, says an older man, helpfully from the corner. Kind of eyes darting back between you and Weirdy. He's obviously nervous of both.
It's Bubby. Bubby is Bubby. Bubby is a rat. Bubby is hungry, just like me. Now can we move on?
Take the whole word.
Make a persuasion check for Helena. If anybody wants to help, just tell me what you say.
I want to use Lucky.
Okay.
Really will help
Lokag
as well.
Yeah, Lokag's definitely gonna help. Lokag will actually reach out and pick Bubby up. Bubby is tiny, and Lokag has a massive hand. And he sits in the palm. He goes, "Is member of the party. This is Scout Rat, obviously." And he's gonna start taking chunks of bread and putting it on a little plate. So he's
Find a teacup,
like a rat-sized chunk.
Yeah, find a tea saucer and lay it on there.
I don't need to use luck if I'm getting help, right?
True. Yeah. Millie, you said you help too. How does Millie help?
Laverne, just humor us for a few hours. Let the rat eat. Is one of Helena's many friends.
She pulls a half-stricken look up from your face, or well, her eyes drop back down to the rat. She pulls that sort of half-stricken look back up to Helena, and looks at her for a long moment. And you can see something waver inside the woman. The advantage and another +1. That is going to be a 10. Very well. Friends are friends, and you've done a lot for us, so
Trickles down. It all trickles down. Trust me, I know. I've been at the bottom, and I know.
completely, unaware of everything that's going on. Bubby is just sort of scooted along, has found the plate of cheese, and is moving up to nibble off of the block itself. Weremy stares at it as if something horrible is about to happen. This sort of look of creeping terror starts to sort of well up on her face. Cliff leans forward and grabs the knife and cuts a slice off and, puts it on the table in front of the rat. Pushes the rest of the cheese away. And that look sort of subsides from Weremy's face. Gotta check the bread, she says, and turns and clatters off in her hard-soled shoes. X, as I described last session, the various things you kind of sensed across the city, just things that you heard, and as you're climbing your way down, is there anything that you move right for food, or does X do something else first?
I had actually joined them at the end of the last session. I was with them eating.
Okay, I'm so sorry.
I was giving away my food to Lokag because X doesn't eat much.
Okay. Perfect. So how is X responding to all of this? Is he just calmly eating quietly, thinking about other things, or?
You put the rats and the cheese together, it's nacho business.
Ouch.
Yeah, it's bad. X just minding his own business. He's fine either way.
Okay. You get another one of those looks, this time from Weremy, the keeper of the Mistfield Square dining hall. That same sort of, I think I recognize this person, but it would be rude to say something. And she's really subtle about it. It's just sort of every now and then. The real sort of thoughtful look is when she turns away, not looking at you anymore. She seems to be racking her brain to try to remember what you already know. Alright, so since you're quietly eating, you can make a perception check. Or if there's, some other thing you're paying attention to, feel free to let me know what that is. Alright.
16 perception.
Awesome. Well, you're hearing some whispers from the other townsfolk. You're just hearing them sort of talk about different things. And you sort of take in just a melange of fears and hopes and that sense of, there's some people here that definitely took part, not in direct fighting, although there is one of the wharf rats here. Kelshan, you think her name is. Heavyset, probably got dwarven blood, but mostly human stock, you think. And there's something different on her face, something sort of radiating out. And she's talking about, she's just naming, she's talking to an older man who's of the bartender, and just sort of talking to him about different feats that townsfolk perpetrated in their defense of the square. Wharf rats, Pell's brave last stand, and certainly the actions of each of you. He brings his voice lower when he's talking about you, as if not wanting to bring attention to you and wanting you all to have a peaceful meal. At least, Millie, that's your take on the snippets that you hear here and there. But it's definitely X you hear much more. You hear a potter and one of the chandlers, the candle makers, talking about different things that they have. Tallow and stone and clay and coal and like wicking, lots of cordage and string and just things like that. So you're just sort of taking in some of that. It seems like the bar has some very strong alcohol that could be useful for, well, setting fires if need be, but also for cleaning wounds, things like that. So you may be filing some of this stuff away. You're also picking out things that the group doesn't have. The alchemists, and likely the blacksmithy, if you can get that going, if you can get Bardabel's nephew and the other blacksmiths just the materials they need, is sulfur. And you did smell some strong whiffs of sulfur in the down in the Goblin Stone. There's a smithy down there, and you're sure they've got their own alchemical lab of some sort, because you've seen flasks being used and potions. So you're just taking stock of just different things, fears, successes, haves, and needs of the group. And you hear some little whispers. It is rumored that you hear a rumor about Lokag, that he broke his way through a stone wall for you all to get into the Goblin Stone, and through a hobgoblin 30 feet. You hear another rumor about Helena, that she has lycanthropy. You hear a rumor that Helena is a were-rat. It's whispered between a young couple, two humans. They definitely say this very, very low, but you hear that. You hear a rumor about you, telling you some people are suspiciously close to figuring out, well, who you used to be, who you were in your former life. They think you're a member of the nobility of the gentry, some cousin to one of the council members, who are now dead, likely. But it's close. It's getting closer. And about Millie, you hear in a breathy sort of whisper, that's Weirmy talking to the bartender a little later toward the end of your meal, that Helena is a scion of the Sacred Fire, a student of Bridget, and you can almost hear the capital letter under student. Does X share any of this? Or is he just filing it all away?
I'm just filing it all away.
Okay. Toward the end of your meal, you all hear a thick, rich voice beginning to sing out in the market square. The lyrics are somewhat familiar. And yeah, it's X. You probably you could hear it all through the conversation, and you're the first one to place it. The lyrics are from distant fields and nearby dales. They gather around with wagons and sails. Bursting with life, the town square gleams as the marketplace sings its ancient dreams. It's the dwarven bard is. So you kind of look out the window. She's standing on the lip of the fountain, just where Hardycart was before Hardycart left a couple of days ago. Which seems so long now. It almost seems like an old song, but it was first sang here that you heard just a couple of days ago.
Is the singing well done?
It's yes. There's it's sort of a little bit halting, as if they're trying to get into the spirit of it. But as they move on from chorus to another verse, it gets stronger. You hear a couple of other thin voices join in with it, sort of coming through the glass walls or the glass windows. Some of them boarded up, broken, but a few of them still in good order, and you can see out of them. So as you all finish up your meal, and either as a group or maybe in ones and twos begin to step out. Once somebody opens the door, you can hear a lot more clearly that Baradwin is singing on the edge of the fountain. It looks like Mim and Nilnan have stepped out. They're standing at the foot of on the stones in front of the fountain rim, and they're both singing. There are a lot of goblin dead. I imagine you all built a pyre somewhere, or what did you do with them?
Well, hopefully people took advantage of all of my armor collecting.
Indeed. You all notice that there's several more townsfolk. Almost everybody has a leather or studded leather, a chain shirt or a chain hauberk, a shield, or a quiver, and a crossbow or bow. Cliff immediately moves. He tells you all he's going to do some more training and teach some more archery and shooting and such down at the southern end of the square. So he moves off, makes a call, makes a shout out. He actually steps up to Baradwin and gets her to make an announcement. And he says you know where to find him if you need him. So he kind of heads off toward the south.
Burning these bodies seems probably our best interest.
Well, put up a big signal. If those masters don't know we're here already, they'll definitely see that fire.
All of them out somewhere.
Not saying it's a bad idea, just seems like every choice we make has a price, says Clifford, as he turns to step away.
We burned them during the day. Less activity, at least that we've seen.
Yeah. What does Lokak think?
I think that we need to. Yes, we need to cart these bodies somewhere else, and we do need to burn them. It is well known that dead bodies can cause disease to spread. At least that is well known amongst my people.
And not the rats.
Oh, rats are very clean.
That's a lot of rats. They'd have to be pretty hungry to eat all those, wouldn't they? Says Cliff,
I'm just
looking
saying
over.
that they don't spread the disease. The dead bodies do.
We might eat one of the bodies.
All they do is help.
I'd say that was a negative thing. Burning them seems to save us, though, so I guess we have to tow them out of here somewhere. Unless we can pull them out, then burn them.
Maybe we can take him just out to one of the side alleys. I'll be around to help, whatever you think, says Clifford. What does X think?
X is eminently practical. If there was something we could do with the corpses that would be useful, like burn them for fuel in the blacksmith or something like that, but I can't see anything very practical to do with them. So probably just burn them somewhere out of the way and make sure that they can't be fed to slimes and things like that. Or brought back as undead, Yeah. Gotta make sure they can't come back.
Well, over the next, next half hour or so, more townsfolk and villagers are waking up. The wharf rats and some of the guards are pretty well recovered from their fighting the day before. You did lose some, but there's a few more who are still in the infirmary with some deeper wounds, like fighting off disease from the filthy weapons that the goblins carried. But you can get enough pretty easily to start moving them, to have one of the barricades foisted open and bring them down to the closest intersection, just 50, 60, 70 feet away from the edge of the square, and begin to pile them up. Those wharf rats that survive, particularly Kelshan, who was there like next to Pell when he, or near Pell when he went down, fighting with Helena, offers to help. So it's a good several hours of work. Finding some fuel. You can easily get some strong alcohol and then some lamp oil from around the square. And wooden rubble, pieces of crates and other carts and things that have been broken, shattered doors on the front of nearby houses and such like that.
Yeah, I guess I was suggesting this more as a town folk job.
Okay.
They could do while we're doing what I think we're doing, because from last session I thought we wanted to get into the stone as early as possible before the goblins reawoken.
Okay. Yeah, you can just give those orders. So is that consensus? Everybody ready to move into the stone, or is there anything anybody wanted to do before you all start pressing your way toward it?
I mean, Helena doesn't want to burn no goblin bodies.
Fair. Would there maybe be anything else you wanted to do before heading out, if you all are heading into the stone?
Perhaps instruct the Lokag might say that make sure that they know who's in charge in the square. Make sure there's some leadership there. I believe we had talked about Pell, I think, taking over as captain of the square. Was Pell still alive, or was he dead?
Let's see here. Pell is alive, pretty hurt. Partially recovered by the next day, but definitely good to stay behind and give orders.
Yep. And Lokag would, chat with Baba Brune as well, and let him know to help as much as he could with keeping the townsfolk morally, morale up. And then he might suggest to Helena to talk to the wharf rats and see if they could scout around for more survivors or supplies. They're probably best suited to that, slipping in and out of alleys, but only during the daytime. Just little things for the villagers to do while we're gone.
Okay. People are certainly listening, at least listening to you. You know, the wharf rats that survive, for the most part, you know, maybe overseeing, but mostly standing watch, as they seem to be pretty canny and good moving along the rooftops and such like that. But some of the other guards and other townsfolk who have stepped up to be sort of square watch are ready to do you all's work. But, you know, with the numbers that they have, it'll take probably most of the day to get all the goblin bodies moved. But breaks can be taken, other work can be done. Let's see here. Yeah, okay. Believe we recovered. We got the healing potion that our stream viewers got for us toward the end of last session. Elnith tells you that they have 2 more potions of healing that they can offer. And of course, you can take that on credit, or you can pay them 20 gold for them.
What do you all want to do? Take them on credit to pay the gold.
Lokag's still got 16 platinum in his pocket. He was going to leave. We had talked briefly about leaving that to just cover expenses as we went with Baba Brune, but I don't know. Maybe it'll be better if we keep it and just divvy it out ourselves. What do you all think?
If we were to, kind of above the table DM, if we were to actively try to buy stuff to sacrifice to the Flame of Bridget, like knowingly gonna try to make magical items, is that something that we could prepare for and like buy things for, or is it just kind of
Yes.
make it up as you go along?
So you know that there's a few different ways to use it. The flame can be used in the actual crafting of an item, which will naturally enchant it. But finished items can also be sort of tempered in Bridget's flame, like you all kind of found when you entered the temple. So yes, you could buy pre-made, well-made looking, you know, items and bring them to the temple and sort of have them imbued or blessed with the fire. Or you could use a portion of the fire within the forges to craft things. But there are also incenses and herbs that can be sacrificed within Bridget's flame that will empower that sanctified space and the light that it puts out, which could give your enemies within the bottom of the stone some trouble.
Okay, so whatever we can do with 12 platinum to prepare ourselves for that, that's what I would vote we do as a party. Because, I mean, everybody could use a +1 weapon, right?
Definitely.
Heck yeah. Okay. So, you all grabbed stuff out of Mildren's place. Anything that came out of there is the finest non-magical craftsmanship available. So, X, you're certain that any of those items could be blessed in Bridget's flame and enchantment brought into them. Just be a matter of getting back to the temple, making sure that the flame is alight, and doing rituals around and with her flame. So what kind of stuff do you pick up aside from the gear that you have that you got from Mildred? You all could take extra crossbow bolts or arrows, daggers, things like that. Water. You think you're certain that water from the square, you could bottle it up and have it purified into holy water, if if you wanted to. You also remember some old legend about this fountain, something magical about it, but you've been trying to maybe rack your brain to remember, but it's not quite coming to you. Perhaps something else that you come across will shake loose a memory. Okay.
Okay, as long as Lokag, he got a lance and a hammer and stuff, and that's enchantable, and my crossbow, and I know that Cliff's gun's got to be good enough. So
yeah, and the short swords he has, the mountain and water short swords with the finely carved wooden scabbards, are both very nice. Like, very nice steel.
Okay.
So
the only other thing I would want to try to enchant is my my holy symbol. We could talk about that separately if you want, but
Oh yeah.
yeah. So we'll get those supplies then.
Okay. Awesome. You get about 50 gold in incense to do a ritual to empower the tower itself, and look over your gear and make sure none of it needs to be replaced with something nicer, so that it can accept Bridget's fire. It has to be a strong enough, well-made enough item, or the fire will just burn it out. So you spend a little time assessing everybody's gear, maybe right after breakfast, and about a half hour after dawn, perhaps, you all are, or into dawn. It's light, it's not quite daylight yet, but about a half hour into dawn, you all are ready to move out. Now, as before, you all still have some options as to how you all travel. Obviously, two people that... Oh, go ahead.
Just really quickly, I wanted to...
No,
before we left, I wanted to trade out that that lance that Lokag had. I think it's just too long and unwieldy to carry, especially in the tight spaces we saw. But he would return it to the arms and armor and ask if he could take the glaive that is there with him.
Absolutely.
So he'd have he's gonna have to carry one of these weapons full time and have the other one kind of on his back. Which I think is doable, especially for the glaive to be kind of diagonal across his back. It's not necessarily easily accessible, but
yeah, I would think probably that using the glaive as like a staff and having the hammer strapped to your back would probably be. Imagine the hammer's a little bit shorter. The glaive it's basically like a short sword on a quarterstaff.
Yeah. So I think that's what he would want to do. Just to have two big weapons, depending on what the situation calls for. One to slash, one to smash.
Okay, perfect. One to slash and one to smash. I like it. All right, so yeah, Clifford just gives a few instructions to Kanara for the daily archery training, and is also ready to go. So as you all discuss your next moves, with two urchins in the group that know the area very well, you can go over rooftops, through alleyways, and pretty well avoid most entanglements unless it's directly around what you're trying to get to. You all went through the sewer last time. You made it all the way into the stone. Nothing says you have to do that again. But you've had some requests for more information on what's going on in the city. Some of the wharf rats doing a sort of overwatch high up on the rooftops, and then X with what you've seen. There's likely some curiosity about what's happening overland in the city, given that for the most part you can avoid entanglements with your knowledge of the city. what's everybody inclined to do? Overland or underground? X, how
Elena
about you?
does have a bit of an advantage in the sewers, but she'll do what the group is most comfortable with.
All right, Lokag?
I am always partial to the open sky, but these sewers have served us well in the past.
X?
I'd go through the sewers. It's a known quantity.
Okay. Let's see here. All right, what about Millie? What's Millie thinking?
I believe Millie has got her mouth full with some food, and she has mentioned overland as well. The sewers seem to lead us to a tough area in the stone, but we could always travel through the sewers part of the way and come out and go into the stone above land, above the street level. It is an option.
All right. So X, you as you were looking at the fountain as you all were getting ready to leave, and just trying to tease that memory up of what the story is about the fountain. You remember a couple of other things in that are in the area. There's a gate to the inner wall that between you all. It's also a guard precinct. It's possible that there's some defense there, although you think Captain Garin was stationed at that at those walls, so they may have been overrun. But there's a storehouse underneath the precinct. There's weapons and food and other sort of emergency supplies, empty sandbags and all sorts of things like that. It might be worthwhile slipping through that area to see what you find, but that would be a delay between perhaps on the way back from the stone. It's a delay if your current mission is to get to the stone, but it's something that would probably pop up on X's radar.
I'll ask the group what they want to do. If we've got these two urchins with us and it's clear, we could just have them bring back villagers to take anything useful.
True enough.
I like this.
All right. Okay, so you do a little bit of talking, and Helena and Millie, you can definitely get the party into the sewers and kind of bring them up wherever you need to. There'll be some navigating in the sewers, as there's always possible slimes and oozes around. But Helena's got a really good knowledge of where they're in the thickest supply, where they might wander into, and some areas that are completely devoid of them. You can take a long, circuitous route, sort of high up in the top of the sewers, just below the street, and avoid almost everything, with really just one small chance of running into anything. But it would be about 3 hours into your day before you arrived back on the streets near the stone.
One of the things I forgot to remember.
Mm-hmm.
The good berry but good cheeses. Well,
right. Yes.
Can I cast that?
Yeah.
I've never done it before, so I'm just kind of like looking at is that count as a spell for the day?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. So I'm gonna throw in good cheeses, so everyone can see it. It says 10 berries. It means cheeses. I can change that.
Awesome.
I'm gonna change it up to 10 cheeses.
So yeah, several small chunks of cheese appear almost flowing out of your hands as the spell ends. Stuff them quickly into a pocket or distribute the bits of cheese out before Bubby manages to eat all of them.
Oh yes, I give everyone on the team at least one. Actually, what do we have here? Can I give everybody 2?
Yep.
Yeah,
Be
everybody
just
gets
enough.
2. And then I have 2, right?
Yep.
Awesome.
Lokag will give his 2 to X and say, "These will get squished in my pocket."
Big Bry's asking in chat here, who has the potions and can he have one?
Certainly.
There, I fixed it. I changed all the cheeses. Not that anyone cares, but now everything that said berry says cheeses.
It matters.
Hey, I cared.
I care. I care very much. Make sure that updates.
I show one
So-
potion of healing in my inventory for X.
Should
I've
have
got-
3 total.
5. So we had 6 because we got the 2 from them at the place. I had 4 in my pack already. So 1 to Locat, 5. Helena, do you need a health potion?
She's got 1. I made sure last session we added it.
And maybe.
Give yourself 2.
Alright,
Definitely give yourself 2. No, give yourself 2.
I feel like that's going to be a theme of this entire campaign. do you have health potions? Maybe. We don't know. No one knows if they have potions or not. I feel like we're going to be using them quite a bit.
Yeah, and stream viewers, there's things I keep track of, and there's things that it's up to the party to keep track of. So that's just part of how I run it, to kind of keep the load off of the Dungeon Master a little bit and kind of keep my imagination free for this session. And I have wonderful players that are great playing ball, so I appreciate that. It just, occasionally we'll have little kerfuffles like this, but that's perfect. It's a part of the game. What about this item? Did somebody have this still? Did we sell this already? It's still on the party loot. All right, so short way or long way?
it's long.
Say again. The long way will take longer, but you'll be safer. Only really one chance of running into
Above
slimes.
ground, right?
That was in the sewers, because you already decided. It sounded like.
Ground.
Oh, yeah.
That's definitely Helena's vote.
Yeah, long way, safe way, up to a place near the stone. Unless
Okay.
X wants to climb more walls.
Needs to update Cliff for his good cheeseberry.
Ah, yes.
Thank you, Jar Jar.
All right. Okay. Well, so you all gather yourselves together, do a final check on all of your gear, and look around the square. Millie, you've been kind of sensing something all throughout the morning. The townsfolk that survived are different. Definitely different after the first invasion, but after this one, where the townsfolk were a lot more active, and people actually fought, and it wasn't really just you all and some guards being quickly overwhelmed. The townsfolk, some of them feel that they've earned it. There's a sort of strength there now. Not exactly an assurance, self-assurance or anything, but you can tell they're all changed by the experience, in particular the wharf rats and everybody who did, immediate actual combat. But even those who just tended to the wounded, and Milnen and Mim, the 2 halflings that run the coffee cart, they seem different. There's something flintier about their gaze, something more steady in their presence. And that they didn't just come through and survive. They've learned from the experience, and they seem more capable. So though it's never quite comfortable leaving the townsfolk to fend for themselves in all that's going on, this time it does feel less dicey than the last time. And that would be 3 attacks that they've survived. 2 with you, 1 without you.
I think that not only helps Millie's confidence in leading them to the square themselves, but also she knows there's little that they can do to actually in the square to solve the problem. And going in is the only true way to try and figure out what's going on and why, and hopefully solve it.
So as the heroes take stock of each other and their gear, assessing quickly, a last look around the square, hoping it's as intact when you come back, and a final glance at the foreboding and ominous bulk of the stone that fell 2 days ago to crush the order within the city. You all slip south. The barricade is brought aside, and to a familiar sewer entrance, one that you slipped into before. But you take a much more circuitous route as the light of day goes away from you. The smoke of fire still smoldering from the night before, and the occasional reek of carrion on the breeze. You all slip down into different sights and scents and sounds, away from the light and into the close vastness of the underground tunnels. Over rounded old cobbled stones, streets, likely, that were once streets long ago in the early days of the city. Some walls look like buildings, a window that's been filled in with other blocks here. What's clearly a doorway that was widened out to be an opening, and you can see where at some point new stone was fitted in. But for Millie and for Helena, it's a completely different journey. There's neighborhoods and places and types down here. There's Old Town, which is the first place you go through, which, according to Millie, according to street rumor, this was once above ground. But as the city is just sort of built up over hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years, it was buried. It turned into warehouses beneath. Most of these locked away now as well. There's all sorts of rumors, though, especially these old warehouses under here, and a sense of, fearful shiver of childhood, fears wants to kind of come up your spine, of a dark cult that took place within the sewers and avoided the light of day, a plotting cabal of dark magics and darker rituals. But you managed to shake this off. If it is true, it's a problem for a different day. And if it is true and they happen upon you, you feel strong in the allies that have come with you. As you dip down a bit into some of the surface sewer tunnels, walking along a narrow stream of unspeakables flowing in the water, you make your way out into a massive chamber. You can hear rushing and falling water as different sewer tunnels meet in. You can hear water gurgling as it swirls in likely massive drains in different parts of the chamber. And it's almost like a grid of walkways that make up the floor. In between all these grids are holes with water in them. Some water's plunging down into, others are gurgling as water drains downward. Some are, by y'all's judgment, higher than they should be, slowly overflowing, likely from disruptions to the sewer and water flow brought on by the smashing of the massive stone. And as you come into this area, Helena, you immediately smell the chemical scent of an ooze-like creature. You can immediately make a survival check to see if you can note what it is. It's somewhere in the chamber. It's faint, but not too faint. X, you immediately notice wide 10-foot trails, like that, where the ground is clean, where there's no algae or mold growing. Something large, square-like, seems to have moved between these pits, searching for flotsam to eat.
I rolled 11.
Somewhere, yeah. Yep, so 15. Yep, it's within about 60 feet. Good chance it knows you're here. It's somewhere up ahead of you. You think off to your left in this massive chamber. And for now, we're going to keep this theater of the mind. And we'll do close, medium, and long range.
Well, I hate to break it to you, but I smell slimes, and she points.
As you
That's
look,
something for those. I'll produce an alchemist's fire from my pouch. Hand it to Helena.
everyone make perception checks as the flask changes hands.
Fire in a jar.
$25 for X.
All right.
11 for Millie.
All right. X and Millie, you both see about 40 feet ahead of you at an angle. Something has obviously come up out of one of the square holes, and you can see that about 15 feet of algae has been eaten away, indicating that this is where the what looks like a cube-like shape must be, and then moving towards you. Again, about 45 feet away from you. Give me just a moment. Go ahead and highlight your tokens and roll initiative. Alright, X Millie Locag Cliff.
I can't find my token.
Here she is.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I was on the wrong side.
No worries.
There we go.
All right. 20 initiative, not bad. All right. Cliff just says, I can't see a damn thing. And he readies his action to shoot his crossbow when he can see it, or if somebody else fires at it. You can see where the tracks are, but yeah, he's uncertain. So he holds his action. What about Helena?
Am I within range?
Yep. For your crossbow, yes.
Ah, I'm shooting it. We aren't wasting any time. And since that's my favorite enemy,
Alright.
I
So
have
from
advantage.
where you're at, yeah, you know where it's at. But unless you move closer, it'll be an attack with disadvantage because it's translucent. You can see by the trail it's made where it seeing something's footprints, but not seeing the entity. You know, you're relying on dark vision. You're underground, so it's dim light, and it's a translucent creature that is not fed on anything, so it's very hard to see. So you can move closer, though. Of course, that'll be, close enough for maybe it to get to you on its turn, but you'll be able to see it and roll as a, single roll as opposed to disadvantage.
I want a regular roll, so I don't want no disadvantage.
Okay.
I want to shoot though.
All right. So you move up to about 15 or 20 feet away. So yeah. Okay. So we'll call that short range, but not melee.
Okay.
All right, so that you can now see kind of the outlines of it. You can see how the what's behind it is distorted by the fluid-like substance of its body.
And Septic Strike, that's just something I have on, right?
Yeah, that's something that you can do after you damage something.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. That is going to hit.
Awesome.
A shaft of light burns a clean line. The whole shape of it quivers, and it distorts the light like rippling water will distort light. As the light of it, the shaft from your crossbow shines out, illuminating suddenly and bringing stark color of sort of vibrant and living browns and lurid greens and shades of black and yellow.
Vermin Lady's the Septic Strike, right?
Yes, that is.
Okay.
I believe so, yeah. Septic Strikes, that's right. Alright, so you take your bonus action for Septic Strikes. And 13. Excellent. So you move a little closer. You have some movement. You can move back away if you want to and get back with your allies.
I'd love to move back away to be out of range, if I can. Or
Okay.
as close to that as possible.
Alright, perfect. Next in the order is Lokag. You see her, you see Helena dart up about 20 feet away from you and run back almost to the group. And for a moment, you see this thing and you see where it is. And you know that getting closer to it, you'll see it as well, but it's really hard to make out from where you're at.
Okay. Is it within 35 feet of Lokag? Is he able to make it to the cube? Or is it further than that?
It's further than that. Yeah, it's 45 feet away.
Okay. So if with the glaives, the glaive only adds, so I'd be able to strike something 40 feet. So
Yeah.
I'd say Lokag is going to take the glaive and he's going to position himself at the front of the party, but just at the front. So he's just going to move past the first part because he was kind of back a little bit, letting people lead through the sewers. He's going to just get up front, so that way, is it and I apologize if this was described. Is it a narrow corridor where it would be hard to get around him without?
No.
Okay, so it's pretty wide.
Yeah, the only thing is there's like about every 15 feet there's a 10 foot by 10 foot pit filled with water. And it's sort of
okay.
It's moving in between these pits in your direction. So there's a narrow walkway, but you could make an athletics check and hop over to another walkway and get around behind it.
I think he would post up just front of the party, maybe at the edge of one of these pits, pools of water.
Okay.
And he's gonna ready an attack with the glaive if it comes within striking distance, which would be he's got that extra reach with the glaive, so stab out at it when it's within 10 feet of him.
Okay. So, all right, cool. So you move, maybe 15 feet forward. Okay. So right up front. So maybe 40 feet from it now. And you ready in action. Sounds like, right?
Yes.
Attack. Okay.
Yep, ready in attack.
All right. How about Millie?
All right.
You can see it from where you're at.
Millie's gonna move a bit forward. I want to be probably approximately like 5 feet in front of Alina.
Okay. So maybe move it up next to where Cliff's at.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's it.
So we can.
This is not the scale, correct?
No, it's further away. I just brought it onto the map that we're using over here as a reference.
And then I'll prepare to throw a alchemist's fire at it once it's within 20 feet.
Okay. Very cool.
I guess in that essence, I'll be trying to position myself to where I'd be like 20 The point in front of Lokag is 20 feet
Okay.
from him to me.
Okay, so you get that far ahead of
There to
Lokag?
me. No, behind Lokag. Like the point in front of Lokag is 20 feet away from me.
Okay, gotcha. Okay. All right. Well, how about X? So your allies ready themselves for the coming cube.
Am I hidden? Can I surprise it? Does it know we're there? For the purposes of sneak attack?
As according to Helena, these things are sort of, hard to fool unless you've broken line of sight. They don't rely on vision like normal creatures. And it's pretty open, and there's not many places to hide unless you want to jump down into one of the pits in the water. You would guess that it's aware of you.
That doesn't sound good. I'll stick it with a crossbow bolt, and hopefully that'll mark it for the rest of the crew.
Okay. Yeah, for a brief moment, as Helena fired that shaft of light, you could see it. So you got a good idea of where it's at. And let's see here. What was your... Oh yeah, with that perception, you can definitely see it. So yeah.
Okay, we'll just take a shot,
All right, let's see it.
and then I will 9 to hit.
A 9 is going to miss, unfortunately.
Okay. Then X is going to try to walk back a little bit and hide, if there's any place I can hide.
Okay. You could move backwards and into like the next... Oh wait, I'm sorry. This thing is large and very slow moving. That 9 is a hit. And yeah, you could back down into the corridor you came from and cut a corner. It's about 25 feet away. You could break line of sight.
Okay, I'll do that.
Okay.
14 in a stealth roll, if that's relevant.
It is relevant.
And then I am done.
All right. The cube continues to move forward. It quickly comes in range of your prepared attacks. Cliff fires his crossbow. Lokag, it does come close. It comes just close enough. Only sort of dashing because you are 30 feet away. It does come right up to you, but it does not touch you. Its whole form is sort of undulating and leaning towards you. It's like it almost like a wall of phlegm or mucus, like leaning over you.
Ugh.
So yeah, let's see that attack for Lokag. 14 is going to hit. But before that, Millie, you can go ahead and throw that flask.
Yep, so just reading this. When you take the attack action, you can replace one of your attacks with throwing a flask of alchemist fire.
Mm-hmm.
Target one creature or object you can see within 20 feet of you. Target must succeed on a dexterity saving throw. Going to be 12 to succeed. Or take 1d4 fire and start burning.
It's going to fail. So it takes the fire. What was your damage? Ooh, nice. Let's see, 2 more
A
damage.
whopping
for
1
Lokag.
fire.
All right. Which is going to be 2 fire. As it is
More
vulnerable.
importantly, it is burning.
Yes.
Lokag will do 8 slashing damage to it.
Very nice. Cliff snaps out a shot with his heavy crossbow. And takes a few steps back, moves about 15 feet back, and begins to reload. Looks like Cliff is going to fire again. Yeah, it's continuing to move towards you, and Helena, you know it's just going to try to envelop you one after another. So on its action, you know exactly what it's going to do. What's Helena going to do?
I mean, I just kind of want to shoot it again, but let me look just real quick. I should have done that beforehand.
That's all right.
Sure. Okay, so would the Zephyr Strike work with the shots? With ranged attacks?
I believe so. Go ahead and put it in chat. I believe it does.
Yeah, because it just says attack.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Weapon attack.
Would like to do that.
Awesome. So you cast that as your bonus action. Your attack is going to have advantage on it.
Awesome. Then I'm gonna do my crossbow. That'll be 21.
21 is going to hit. Nice.
And then an extra 1d8, right?
Yep.
I could have clicked that on. Sorry, I didn't do that.
That's fine. No worries.
8. Heck yeah.
Nice. There are, as arrows lance into it, as the glaive slashes into it, as sort of like square of gelatin, the slashes appear, and it almost flaps open like folds of lacerated flesh. No blood or any ichor of any sort comes out. But you can tell, usually it like sort of gloms back together rather easily. You can tell you're hurting it. It's not restoring itself as quickly as it normally does.
It's moving towards us still, right?
Yes.
So I'd like to move back. How fast is it moving towards us?
It just moved 30 feet, so it used all of its action economy to move towards
Alright,
us.
so is it right up next to me? It shouldn't be, right?
It's not. It is right up against
Okay.
Lokag, though. Everyone else is a little further back. He stood up to the front.
Well, I want to get back a lot, as far as I can go.
Okay. You can move back around the corner with X.
Well, I still want to be able to see it, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah. So as far back as I can go and still see it.
Oh, one correction. You couldn't have done your Venom Lady Caustic Strikes this time.
Okay.
Because you took your bonus action for Zephyr Strike.
Oh, okay, sorry, I didn't know that was
No,
a
that's
bonus.
that's fine. That's fine. Okay, that's move action, bonus action. Helena fires another bright shaft of light toward the cube. Dips back. Next in the order is Lokag.
All right. Lokag is going to just attack out with his glaive once again.
Okay.
And this thing is right up on me, so it's within melee, right?
Yes.
Or is it still the? Okay, I wanted to know if there was distance there.
No, it got right up on you. Close enough to attack, but not able to do so.
21.
21 is a hit.
Excellent. And 11 slashing damage.
All right.
And no, I'm not gonna rage. This thing's not enough for Lokag to really put his full 100% effort in. I think he's a little cocky right now.
Fair.
Just a little.
He's earned it. He's definitely
Yeah.
earned it.
Well, he's also been to the stone once and knows how precious those uses of rage could be. You can only be so angry so much. You got to save it for when it counts.
That's true. Yeah. Let that be a lesson to all of us. Can't be angry all the time. Save it for when it counts.
Yep. Just remember, kids, only you can make yourself angry.
Yeah. Awesome. Next in the order then is Millie. I've just tossed a flask.
All right, with it burning, cast Stirring Smite on the sword, and then go into attack it with the longsword.
Millie's sword once more catches fire as she raises it up and steps forward up next to Lokag. And with just the last 2 inches of the blade, you manage to cleave into it. Fire sprouts from the blade, joining that dripping alchemist fire burning along the shivering cube-like shape.
Right. Just got to make a con save. I was 15. If it fails that con save.
It does not fail the con save. However,
Alright. Well, 10 slashing.
you can feel free to describe or pass as you dispatch the cube.
I think the natural flame of the blade takes it over, and then just places into it, kind of perpetuating the already flaming body of this thing, and just makes it start smoldering into nothingness.
Awesome. As the thing, like many oozes do, breaks down into thick, rubbery chunks, steaming, some still flaming and smoking. Helena, you all take a few precious seconds to take stock of yourselves and your environment. Nothing else seems to be moving. You hear no more water being disturbed. And Helena, it's down to that sort of muted background scent that says those cubes travel through this area pretty often, which you knew. But this was the main place you and Millie were worried about when you traveled through the sewers. So from here, you have a few ways you can go. You can make it closer toward the square, although you expect that the ground has been damaged as you get closer. It might be safer to exit the ground a little further down the hill from the square. But as you all dispatch this, take stock. Does anybody have any reactions to this? How does X react as maybe come back around the corner?
I'm gonna listen real close and see if I hear anything else sneaking up on the party, either from the front or the back.
Make a perception check.
To 14.
Okay. Yeah, just the sort of static hush of water falling down from some height into a couple of these square pools. The gurgling and slushing of water as it drains out of some of these others. But you don't hear anything sort of rasping or gurgling along the floor. Nothing moves up above you. And Helena seems to have relaxed. Her shoulders have dropped a little bit. She seems less tense. So between those things, you reckon it's rather safe, at least, relatively. You certainly wouldn't want to camp out here.
All right, I'll move ahead and scout then.
All right. So you go ahead and make another stealth check for yourself.
10. Oof.
Okay. Well, before you head out to stealth, you all maybe re-huddle up, move through as you're moving through the chamber, and you all talk a little bit about where you want to end up. You're pretty close to the south gate, or to South Gate Precinct, where there might be a contingent of guards. There may be supplies that you all can check out and see if they're there. But also the precinct gate, as you all would reckon based on the size of the stone, your eyes on it, you think that the precinct gate is probably 100 feet from the edge of the square. So it seems like a pretty safe bet. But there might be goblins around that place as you come out. But given the winding and twisted alley that sewer entrance is in, Millie and Helena, you're fairly certain that you're 100% certain that you can get everybody out safely to that exit and be able to sort of assess Or at least X can sneak up and assess what it looks like above ground. And with the other options further ahead being dicey, whether they've been ruined by the rockfall, it seems like, yeah, that is your best bet. But so unless someone else in the party has some other idea, that's likely going to be the place that you go.
It would be good to go up. You should really have some sort of signal though if you run into something.
X, you got any, I don't know what they call it, whisper magic? Message?
Yeah, no, I don't at the moment.
You are, he is talking different, isn't he? He looks over to Lokag, and then back to X. Well, any other bright ideas? Says X.
If I see something, I'll just come back and let you guys know.
What if something sees you?
Then I'll scream.
All right.
Ah!
Well, that will be a clear sign, says Cliff. You can hear the ellipsis at the end of his words. All right. So as you, if unless anyone has a problem with that, it sounds like X begins to slip up the very narrow staircase, cuts up to your right, and goes up jaggedly at angles. As you get up about a third of the way, it looks like some rockfall has spilled in and partially blocked the staircase. You could squeeze through, X. You're a pretty skinny dude, even with your breastplate on. Lokag is not going to fit through here. And it could be dangerous to move it unless you wanted to you had a survival skill that you think would work in this area. If you had experience with this sort of thing, you might be able to assess the stone. But you also suspect that Lokag might have a decent idea, and maybe Helena. She seems to survive in the sewers pretty well for a long time. But you could slip past if you wanted to scout first, or you could go back and tell them about the cave-in. As you peer past it, it doesn't look very thick. It's possible that you all could excavate this rockfall. What are your thoughts, X? Slip forward and scout, or go back and report the cave-in?
I'll do both. I'll go back and tell them what's going on,
Mm-hmm.
and then if I can, I'll go ahead of them and scout a little bit.
Okay. So X pads softly back, his tattooed and robed figure, his breastplate strapped over his robe, resolving from the dimmer light, picking his way along the 10-foot pathway between the watery pits on either side. Makes his way back up, mentions a rockfall, which isn't really surprising to Helena and Millie. Some old areas of the sewer, a massive rock, a mountain fell on the city. So you all make your way up to it, perhaps giving X a boost as he scampers over and slides through the rockfall. And you all are left to assess it for a moment. But as X slips over and you all sort of put your eyes on this, I think this might be a good moment for a short break. I try to hit it a little bit earlier. But yeah, we'll go ahead and take a short break now and come back to that, dealing with this rock in your path, very literally. And so, for our viewers, we're going to take a short break. Some of us will remain behind. Here in about a minute, I'm going to run a short 60 seconds of ad. So yeah, you all are warned. You can hop away. So yeah, anyone that needs to bounce and take a short break, I'm going to sit here for a couple of minutes. And when someone comes to relieve me, I'll go grab some warm water and all that stuff.
I'm gonna run first.
Okay, go ahead and run.
I'll hang out.
Cool.
I'll be right back.
All right. Heck yeah. Well, everybody, thanks for being here. We certainly had a lively chat and some friends I haven't seen in a minute. I see Teal Seal. Teal is in our spy campaign on Wednesday nights with Pon Pon and I. It's called the League of Many Hands, and it's a secret society of spies, and that was a goodly order. Something has brought it low and brought it into disorder. A foreign army a foreign army is preparing the lands for invasion by creating a false temple backed by false gods created by some sort of magical machine, and has infiltrated this league. The party is always outmatched but never outgunned. They always have pretty amazing equipment. They don't have a fighter. They don't have a dedicated healer, and it's all a scrambling plan. Their dungeon crawls are all heists, and it's pretty fun. So yeah, there's our buddy Teal. Heck yeah, Small Wonders, Jar Jar. How is everybody tonight? I'm curious if anybody managed to catch DL. I saw your most recent video, bud. I've watched it through once, sort of had it on in the background when I was working on stuff, and then on my drive down back home today, about an hour drive, I listened to it. And so I'd like you to throw that in chat. So for people, if you all want to see how X is built and the theory, the concept behind X, DL just made an awesome, pretty long form video about the build and all of those thoughts behind X on his new channel, Loquitur RPG, that you can see kind of labeled above his head there. So DL, did you have any thoughts that you wanted to share with people about that? I know you were pretty excited to put the video together.
Yeah, no, I'm planning to do more of that kind of stuff for the whole group. I mean, if people are willing to talk with me, it won't be the same kind of format going out level 1 to 20 like that, but it'll be more like what the thought process is, how people build characters, because I think among the group, I'm probably the only one that would plan out the whole build path. I think other people, have an idea what they're going to do. I think Pon Pon, for example, just decides what kind of personality she wants to play and then figures out what class goes best with the personality. So I think there's a bunch of different styles of building characters, and I think it'd be neat just to talk to people and put that up where if anybody wants to come, watch us here on Monday nights, they can kind of get people's thoughts on their characters and where they're going and what they're all about. So I think
Nice.
It's fun. I like doing that kind of stuff. And then DM, you said you might provide some DM insights too. We could talk about Goblin Stone just as a campaign itself and that kind of stuff.
That'd be really fun. I'd like that. Yeah, heck yeah. Give a dungeon master an opportunity to wax about their thing that they've created. Heck yeah, sign me up. I'm down, especially since you just have really insightful questions, and man, that was really comprehensive, that guide. And it's not just like, it's useful for like the build that you're put together, but it just, I can see it giving players insight into how to look at building your character and how to sort of adapt the mechanics and the personality and the background of the character all together as a whole package to play it out with role playing and combat numbers and all that really fun stuff.
Yeah, there's a lot of times I'm watching these other videos that are out there on optimizing your character, and they're talking about, we'll take this feat for damage, we'll take 2 levels in fighter to get action surge so we could do more damage, and there's all this stuff that they're doing, and I keep thinking, man, if you just stuck with paladin for a few more levels instead of all that garbage you had before, it doesn't increase your damage, right? So I understand that like they're just playing to the tactics of, I'm gonna do a one shot, or like there's a few gauntlet type mods that people are doing now that are pretty cool, and people are just trying to build characters that can solo go through these gauntlets. And so yeah, that takes a certain kind of character, but if you're just playing your character at level 10, that's very different than if you're playing your character at level 1, level 2, level 3.
yeah.
So that's kind of how I wanted to present it, like builds that are really good, but let's say a little bit of focus on doing more with your character and having in-combat stuff to do as well as out-of-combat stuff that you can participate in. And I do plan to start doing like 4 builds together. Like I'll do 4 character builds like X, maybe not as detailed as I went into with X, but do 4 different characters, and then make a party out of it, and just kind of show people, like, if you were making a party of 4 characters, here's 4 characters that would work together. Here's their gimmick, what they do, all that stuff. And then if anybody, maybe if people like it, and there's a group of people getting together that don't know much about the game, they could just say, okay, let's build that group. Let's do that group, because then we know that we're not missing some key skill or something like that. That stuff's been thought through. So I think that's what I want to do with it. Do builds like that, but more as a group.
Yeah, I love it. I think it's a great idea. Let's see here. All right, I'm gonna go ahead.
I was gonna say, DL, I loved watching. I watched a little bit of the video, and I love the way you talk about characters and like how you think about it. It makes me think about my character more like that, because I'm a lot like Pon in the sense of, like, I'm always gonna pick the character, like the personality that I want to play, and build it out that way. And I have ideas, and it usually takes a different shape as the character goes. I go, oh, you know what, this will be cool, and I think having a general plan at the beginning is actually a pretty good thing, because it helps you stay cohesive and on task. Because a lot of times you can go, I'm working towards this goal with this character, and then you get to level up, and you hit that point, and you're like, oh, you know what would be really cool, and you take the like emotional choice, and you're like, 2 levels later, you're like, oh man, I wanted to be able to do, this thing, and you're like, I kind of shot myself in the foot by taking the emotional choice, which isn't always a bad thing. Sometimes it works really great with the story, and other times it's like you gotta, remember that, like, while months pass in real life, it's only within weeks or days in a campaign sometimes, and so your character might have kept going on this goal. So there's check there. You gotta balance your character, or at least I do have to balance my character between those 2 strains of thought of, like, the emotional, like, this is what I want right now, versus this is my long-term goal.
That's the dog.
Yeah, I think that's great. And nothing, like we're saying in chat, like, nothing says, some other option can emerge, and you don't necessarily you're not married to that path. If some other good option or something you realize about the campaign, you're like, well, actually, in this campaign, this feat would be better at this level. Nothing says you have to stick with the plan. For those of you all listening, you can still have a fusion approach, like Quentin pointed out. Have the plan, but then deviate if you like.
Yeah, I know somebody who's playing a Paladin Warlock, and they can never decide whether the next level should be Paladin or Warlock. So I told them, just, kind of keep mental track. In the last level, what did your character do? Did they do more stuff that feels good or more stuff that feels bad?
Yeah.
Just pick which, think less about, like, what's the right thing for your character, and think about more how your character's acting. And if they're...
There's a Celestial Warlock.
I love that. I love that, though.
Doesn't bad.
Yeah, no, Celestial, that's perfect. You get the best of both worlds. My patron is my deity. You're either double blessed or double screwed in that case. Heck yeah.
Yeah,
All right.
very interesting.
Well, I'm gonna go ahead and run an ad really quick, and then when we come back, I'm gonna run and take a short break before I pop back on. So, everyone, stick with us. Turn your volumes down if you need to, as we're gonna go into a minute here of ads, and it's doing its thing. At least I believe. I'm still new at this, so it may not actually be playing. Doesn't look like it is. Oh, okay, yeah. Non-subbed members are probably seeing.
Nothing has happened yet.
Okay, it says it's playing on, at least on Stream Elements. I mean, sorry, my Stream Manager.
I saw it play.
Okay, cool. Cool. Got 7, so let's see here. It's gonna come free, and then I'll just say, hey, we're gonna do another one real quick.
We need one more follower to get to that 80.
Oh, nice.
Quentin says can't see ads.
Yeah.
He got gifted a sub earlier in the stream thanks to Tom.
Nice. Heck yeah. All right. Well, I am gonna step away briefly and take care of some bodily needs. I'll be back in just a few, y'all. I should mute myself. Oh.
Oh, okay, so I'm reading chat, and I just started with a buddy of mine. It's actually Potato Queen, if she's in here. Hi! But we started playing Baldur's Gate together today, and for the first time I'm playing a monk. So, in anything, I've never
cool.
played a monk in anything. So I'm trying to expand my understanding of the different classes and stuff.
Are you wearing clothes?
So far. Yeah, it was also Potato Queen's first time ever playing, and hasn't gotten to play D&D, so it's been this nice introduction where you don't have to do the math. That's nice.
You got the good old computer to do it for you. The monks, interesting. And again, so is sorcerer. Anything where you have to kind of manage your resource.
I would actually cross-play Asterion, not gonna lie. I think that'd be a lot of fun. My coworkers, every year they do like a Halloween costume party theme, and I suggested, because a lot of us play Baldur's Gate, that we should do that, and they actually asked me to cross-play Asterion. I said yes.
Nobody's with that urge.
No. Yeah, I wish you could play on the computer. We could all have an evil campaign together.
Couple more years, small wonder. Couple more years. We'll get that.
Yeah,
Multi-system crossplay.
Yeah.
According to Lorian. We'll see.
Yeah, that'd be nice, because then I could play with my brother too. I know quite a few people that are just on console. Nice. You know what, chat? I'm just curious. So, what would your class be in real life? And you can multi-class. That's totally fine.
Good question. I'm back, everyone.
I guess if I were anything, I would say I'm like a sorcerer, bard.
Nice.
Like dancing, performing bard.
Quentin Cappuccino's a sorcerer monk.
I can't hear you, DM.
Oh, huh. Can't hear me. Ah, there we go. I'm muted in 2 places. Yeah, Quentin Cappuccino's saying sorcerer monk for them, and Teal Seal, who plays a fighter rogue in our campaign, says fighter. Small Wonders says cleric. Fighter wizard for TL. Heck yeah.
I love that idea of contact spells, like just blowing them up right at the chest.
Heck yeah.
A lot of thunder waves.
Oh man, let me get surrounded.
So DM will enjoy this. The first and so far only full playthrough I've had has been with a character that is in our Thursday night's game with DM and Locan here. A lot less powerful, a lot less sneaky, but a rogue ranger mix. Just as notoriously evilly neutral. I don't know.
It's the bad side of evil, or the bad side of neutral. Heck yeah.
I guess I'll save these people. These things in my way.
Might be useful later. What's that, Brad? I thought you started to say something.
Oh, I was reading chat and someone said their stat block would suck. And I heard an interesting thing. It was like, your D&D characters, even at level like 2 or 3, are heroes, and they're like, at least legends locally. And so it's like, yeah, you're right, your stat block would suck because everyone's a level 0 character until they train a stat or like build something like so
yeah,
everybody starts out with a pretty terrible stat block or like character sheet because you got no feats, no special abilities. Like
yeah. If you're a D&D character, you've got to survive a near-death experience to gain XP, apparently.
Yep.
Oh, well, good.
And your parents have to be dead.
Yeah. Well, all right.
Yeah,
so yeah.
I've got a few levels then.
Yeah.
This is where Locag chimes in like, not me, I love my dad.
Yeah.
Like that scene from Metalocalypse.
Yeah, I feel like Locag would be the character with the perfect family life out of all the characters at the table. For sure. Everything's fine, Everybody, his whole family's heroes. They're all still alive.
I still get letters from him.
I pity you.
Oh man. Yeah, Small Wonder. It is a challenge to have a backstory for a character that's. It's just so common, though. We hear it so often in comic books, like tragic backstory, but
It's
there.
a lot of rocket fuel. It's a lot of motive.
It really is, and lots of scenes for drama and stuff.
Comfortable people aren't forced into action.
That's a true thing, though. Yeah, a lot of the people that I know that have been through a lot of action had something that drove them. Desperation, adrenaline, things like that. So I do have a special place in my heart for like the old gritty D&D where the adventurers were not heroes. They were just people that had to do this. Really interesting character backstories and stuff like that. But that's also why I like this table in this campaign. It's interesting backstories. Not all necessarily heroes or adventurer types. So good stuff. Well, I put a little bit of soothing music on in the background for the end of our break, but now I think we're ready to jump back into it if everybody else is.
I am ready.
All right. So. As you all approach the blockage and X slips over it into the dark above you, you can see around the corner a bit of light from the sun somewhere above you all. X, you can go ahead and make an additional perception and stealth check as you like, and we'll handle your scouting first, and then move to the party dealing with the rockfall.
Okay, perception 15, stealth 19.
All right. Excellent. So as you come out, you hear conversation. It sounds like it's a few houses away, like across the main street. You're not sure where you are. You can see the wall between the houses above you, and peeking out even over that is the carven surface of the Goblin stone standing tall above the hill. The voices that you hear are to the west and slightly south. It sounds hushed tones, but it's common. Someone speaking common. You don't hear any fighting nearby or any goblins. There's smoke in the area. You don't see any fires, but smoldering of must be nearby burned down buildings. But you're in a narrow alleyway. There's houses sort of packed together, the fine 3-story stone structures that the wealthier folk in the city live in, just outside the inner city. It's a very nice neighborhood. But yeah, the smell is wrong. You can still smell that sort of charnel house smell of old cooked meat, stale smoke. And you don't hear anything creeping nearby. The closest thing you hear are those voices speaking common, whispering and furtively. And you can't make out what's being said, just the consonant sounds you can kind of hear as you listen at them for a moment. You think it's people speaking common. As you creep out from the alley and look out into the alley proper, looking both directions, step up to the nearest street. You don't see anything around. Looking up and about, nothing attacks you. Nothing. If it's there, you don't see it, and it doesn't see you. What does X do next?
I'll just stand watch while they clear the... Did I get the impression that they're going to be able to clear the rubble, or not?
Not sure. They haven't checked back in. You're just sort of crept up around a corner, 2 corners from them, up at the top of the stairs.
Okay.
But yes,
I'll just yell back down that it's clear.
Okay. So you all hear X's voice as you all are sort of approaching the rock fall, blocking up the 5-foot stairway. Who has sort of good survival skills, knowledge of stone or rock that might be able to assess? I think Lokag, you might have a good idea. Do you have a survival skill?
Yes. Just make that survival check.
Yep, you can make it with advantage because it's dealing with stone and rockfall.
9.
All right, a 9.
Sweet.
Let's see here. Yeah, it looks pretty solidly stuck as far as you're concerned. It's going to be really loud and take several hours. Millie, for you, what skill do you think is most useful that you're most go-to? Would you investigate it and try to gauge it that way? Or do you think there's some other skill that Millie would use to assess the rockfall?
Either survival or sleight of hand.
Okay. You can make a survival check as well. Single roll, however.
That will be 7. Not great.
Okay. Yeah. Looks to you the same. Looks like some large chunks of rock wedged together. Although the thickest are only about 4 inches thick, they're pretty large. Good thing you have Lokag here to help you. Helena, what do you think? Would she be assessing it or doing something else? And if she assesses it, what skills do you think she's going to use? Survival, or does she have something else you think would be useful?
Survival's not terrible for her. It's okay. The sleight of hand, like kind of feeling it to see if there's any slips in the crack, like strange slips or things that push in or anything like that.
Okay, so you can make a survival or investigation.
Okay.
Yeah, the wall has been cracked, and pieces of the walls were lined with a finer stone. That is what's been cracked and is sort of jumbled together. From your perspective, there's a couple of big chunks at the top could be moved and could loosen 2 of the large pieces, and then Lokag could lift them out of the way.
Okay.
But it'd have to be done carefully because it could collapse. You'll have to leave some of the stone wedged in place so the rest of the wall and ceiling doesn't collapse on you all. So it'd have to be carefully done.
Well, looks like we got a bit of a house of cards here, but we might be able to get through. She kind of points it out.
Okay then. Well, just tell us where to put our hands then, Missy. says Clifford.
She like just directs like what she thinks would be the best support. It's like Jenga. I mean,
Mm-hmm. A couple of pretty
Does
dicey
anyone else
stones have to
wanna-
be removed.
does anyone else want to give any like now that I pointed it out? Like, does anyone else have a better assessment of how to take them out?
A sleight of hand. I mean, you've kind of pointed out what looks like the best. It's just dicey. Someone would have to pretty carefully remove them.
I mean, my sleight of hand's pretty good.
Yeah, sleight of hand check would probably help.
Okay.
Millie could help you, or you could both make individual checks and begin excavating the precarious pieces, loosening the larger ones, freeing them for Lokag to grab.
Rather
So-
assistance or their hands both.
So,
Hold on just a moment. What's that, Joe?
Elena, would you rather have assistance or try her hands at both?
Does anyone else have a sleight of hand higher than 7?
I doubt it.
So
I
that's
don't think so.
the assistance would be good, I think.
I can come back down and cast guidance and stuff, so that's what I was trying to say.
Okay, oh yeah, absolutely. You creep back down the stairs. Nothing's threatening you, so you can easily do so. And you can see them through the gap up in the top. You see.
I want to be back with the group because if they do it wrong and the stones come down, I don't want to be somewhere else.
Okay. So you all make room for X to slip back through, and you're able to
Okay.
put your blessing of guidance on Helena.
I just roll sleight of hand again.
Yeah, because you have advantage and a plus D4. Nice.
Nice.
We're rolling it.
Mm-hmm. Yep. The higher you roll, the quicker it will be. Nice.
Yes.
So, Millie and Helena, you quickly and deftly pull these shards and chunks of rock out, freeing some of the larger pieces, but also take some of the shards and wedge them back in to keep some of the facade on the wall, which will keep some of the facade on the ceiling as well. And after that, it's just a matter of Lokag lifting the stone. One of them's fairly easy, no strain on you. You easily lift it out of the way. But the next one is going to be an athletics check for you to lift
All
it.
right.
It's pretty large and wedged in pretty good.
17.
So you manage to sort of squat down on this unevenly on the narrow staircase, shifting your hands and get them sort of lodged down deep in the cold and slick rock. And you lift with a rasping and a clattering of smaller stones and manage to turn and drop another stone down on the landing. You now have to kind of press against the wall, but you can all easily move through it. And you're only pressing against the wall so you don't break free any of the other rocks and drop the ceiling on everybody. Success. You all are free to move up to the surface now. Any preparations before you all move up? All right.
Do you see anything, X?
Was all clear when I was up there before.
All right. How does marching order sound for as follows? X, Lokag, Millie, Clifford, and Helena. Or do you all want to rearrange
Lokag's
that?
in the middle. Yeah.
Okay. X, then Millie, and then Lokag.
Yep.
All right. Helena to the rear. Does that sound okay, or do you want to be closer up front?
Yeah. I make sure nothing stalks us. I'll smell them.
So as you all squeeze through and continue to mount the narrow, cluttered, close, confined stairway, the ceiling pressing up against Lokag as you're pressing up against your shoulder because you're kind of bowed down moving up the stairs. And for X, you definitely have to sort of hunch down a little bit too, being rather tall. But you all move through and you come out into the light of day. Sky is as blue and clear as it was on market day. It reminds you of the world as it existed and the city as it existed before that. And you come up to the smell of stale smoke and smell of rot. The walls, the bulk, and heavy stone walls to the inner city loom over you. And yeah, you're really close as you plan to be. Well, with Helena and Millie directing you, you make your way over, hiding, in along the sides of houses, moving along low cellar entrances, and darting quickly across alleyways, trying to keep a low sight line and be out in the open as little as possible. I will bring us over onto a map, and I will bring our viewers over to the same map. Give me just a moment. Get that out of the way. So as you all come, you'll be coming from the east, over in this direction. Coming up in between these houses here. So you can go ahead and draw yourselves onto the map, and I can expedite that if you all need or like me to.
Nice. So I'm in the back, so wherever everybody goes, I'll go there.
All right. Let's bring you back over to this corner here. Let's get over here. And Locag right sort of behind X. Or no, he's in the middle. That's right. All right. So as you all slip forward, X, the rest of you can also make perception checks and stealth checks. As you all creep out into the light, into a oddly, almost surreal, how peaceful the streets in this neighborhood is. And that's not, it's an illusion that grows and almost fills you with unease until you spot between, looking between two houses, you spot a burned building, flames still smoldering atop it. On two of the buildings, you can see flames sprouting from what seems like something that's been perched atop. Looks like a heavy ball of pitch and stone. They weren't there before. It's nothing that the townsfolk would have left. It's not setting fire to the houses because the stone roofs, but anything that isn't made of stone, the houses have been burned. You all can hear a thin sort of chattering and shouting coming from one of the houses. X directly across from you, from the high window, you can hear the shrill argument of goblins. And somewhere further south, I think it's this building. Let me see if it's showing up on the screen. Yeah, it seems like this building up here, the goblin voices are coming from. But you're pretty sure it was this building that you heard the human voices come from when you were just out scouting. You don't hear them anymore. Perhaps they've quieted as the goblins have gotten louder.
I'll confer with the group, see if they want to investigate or move on.
Might get loud if we go in.
I think you broke up there. Bri, can you say that again for me?
Might get loud if we go in.
There's people in the other house. Should we not try to find them? Perhaps have them wait near the stone that we just moved.
Get him out and get him to safety. Doesn't sound like a bad idea, says Clifford. He looks over to X and Helena, see what they think.
All right, we'll head over to the door and start seeing what's over there.
Okay. So, as discussion is just starting to happen, X just strides across quickly, getting back out of sight. The door is locked, X. It feels solid, as if it's probably barred from behind as well. You see char marks around some of the windows. Both the windows have been broken out. Looks like furniture has been pushed up against them. You can see several other places around the walls and where it looks like alchemist flasks have been thrown, but fire didn't catch on the stone house. So as X slips across, and you all are sort of watching from across the street as he approaches the door. Do you all hang back, or do you all slip across with him? Millie, what does Millie do?
Millie watches for any sign for X to kind of summon them over.
Okay.
She's confident that X is probably the sneakiest in the group, and if there's creatures who can see us about, it's probably best to have one person go and not everyone go.
Yeah. Okay. Lokak, what about you? Do you hang tight, or do you move over there?
Yeah, Lokag's of the same mind. He's waiting. He knows he's not the stealthiest of the group, so he's usually, waits for signals to cross open spaces in general.
All right. Cliff comes up to the corner of the house and sights his crossbow out along the road, making sure he can sweep it to where X is and back north, where the goblin voices came from. What about Helena? Does she hang tight or move along somewhere else?
She doesn't like the idea of everyone being clumped together. So I would kind of like to move. Does that count with the stealth roll I already rolled?
You've already made your stealth, so yeah, you'll be moving just at half speed, sort of creeping along.
Okay. Maybe just like down here to this side. So kind of like I could even go around the back side of the house, so it's like extra sneaky.
Yeah, perfect.
X is waving for you to come over and join him.
Okay. I imagine she sees him waving or something.
Mm-hmm.
So she's
Absolutely.
Like, doo-ba-doo. Okay. She comes back here.
I think you're better at picking locks than me. See if you can get this door open.
Shabby. She cracks her knuckles.
If she picks a lock, can I help DM? Because I've got thieves' tool skills myself, so we should be able to work together, right?
Yeah, you'll be totally focused on it, and you'll kind of lose track of your surroundings for a moment, but yes, you can.
So do I do that with advantage?
Uh-huh.
Seeing them focus down on the lock really will
What's
creep
the
forward, because this is
dexterity?
Dexterity would be fine. Dexterity or intelligence is usually what I go with.
Woo! Nice.
Okay. So as you begin to pick locks, Millie, what do you say?
Millie will come around, seeing that they're focusing down on this lock in the house. Millie will see this behavior. It's not uncommon to what her and her groups have done in the past, and come out along the house just to keep them covered.
Nice. Okay. As everyone sort of slips away, it's Lokag and Clifford. It says, well, just the two of us again.
Yes, this did not end well last time, but I am confident that won't happen again.
Oh, but we've learned so much. We've grown so much since then.
Yes, we have. Well, I'm still bigger than you, so you have not grown that much.
Ah, but inside, I'm much bigger than you.
Yes, you did eat a lot, yes.
He chuckles, kind of resituates himself, and this time he kind of slips up past you and goes up to the corner of the next house. Coming back up to sort of this area. And mirroring sort of what Millie's doing, but from that north corner. And yeah,
I'll stick with him.
Heck yeah. So you're kind of cramped together up against the wall. You're both looking out. He's mostly looking toward the house where the goblin voices came from. You notice he's mostly aiming at that top window in case anything pops up or starts to see you.
I'll be watching the gate and the wall above, as much of it as I can see from where I'm at. I know a lot of it's blocked.
All right. You spot movement up on the wall. a tuft of hair, perhaps, or the top of a ratty cloak hood. It's hard to say. Something's up there. Probably very short. You imagine it's a goblin. You see...
I'll nudge Clifford. Sorry.
No, that's
All right.
fine. You see another spot of movement somewhere else on the wall. So there's something right up in the center. Let me adjust the map view. Cool. So up here on the wall, you saw movement, and then up here on this parapet, you saw movement.
Yeah, I'll nudge Clifford and get him perhaps to signal Millie to, just pass it down the chain with hand signals or whispered words.
Okay. You spot, as you're kind of sitting too watching, you see patches of dried blood, burn marks out in front of the gate. Like the whole area has... There's a lot of fighting was done here. You know what an arena looks like after a fight. And, yeah. And across the street, there's a satisfying series of clicks as the two of you pick the lock. There is a bolt on the other side, but you have a few other little thin rods of metal that might unfold, where you can reach in from above and hook the bar and lift it up. If you're very careful in how you open it, you can keep the bar from clattering to the ground. So whoever opens it will have to make a stealth check or sleight of hand to keep you all stealth. But the door's unlocked.
I'm willing to do it the same way. If I could help Helena, then we'll do that.
Yeah, Helena, if you like, you can make a stealth check with, or a sleight of hand check with advantage, as X helps you get the door open. Pon, you with us?
I'm sorry, I missed what I.
Oh, so to open the door without making any noise, a sleight of hand or stealth check. And you're going to make that with advantage. No worries, because X is helping you. So you got advantage on that roll.
Sleight of hand. 24.
The door creaks open with, very little sound. You can hear it, but you're certain it doesn't carry. It's a very nice house, well-oiled hinges. It looks like a fight happened inside. Go ahead.
Is the door the one right in front of us, or is it like?
Oh yeah,
on
it's
the side of
the one right in front.
Okay, I somehow wanted to pick, but I'm in the house.
Okay.
In the house.
So you move into a drawing room, a parlor that's been destroyed. It looks like fighting happened here. There is blood. There are, furniture has been tattered and broken. A table full of fine pottery of some sort was shattered. And there is what you would guess is a sentry. It's someone sitting on a sort of a sofa in the main chamber. They're dressed in the uniform of a palace guard, purple and gold. There's a heavy crossbow set over their lap. They are asleep. The young woman looks exhausted, and this is probably her first season as a guard of the watch. And
Well, I would like to gently, without waking her up, take her weapon, so we can wake her up without scaring the life out of her and her shooting us.
Okay, it's another sleight of hand check. X, do you follow Helena in?
Now, I'm trying to motion to the rest of the group to come over and get with us. Rejoin, let's go.
Clifford,
I would like to use one of my luck points on this one.
Okay.
Feel like I'm gonna need it.
All right. Clifford slaps
Millie will head
Locag
on
in the... Okay. Millie, you cross the road as well. Clifford kind of slaps Locag on the chest with the back of his hand. Go time, he says, and moves, sort of hunkered down low across the street toward the doorway.
I gotta roll a 16.
All right. You pluck it out of the young woman's hands. She does not move.
And
You can
then
hear
I'd like
Go ahead.
slowly kind of like grab her shoulder
Mm-hmm.
and put cusp my hand over her mouth so she doesn't scream when I wake her up.
As soon as you touch her, she starts to struggle. Her eyes open wide, and she's shouting. Her eyes flicker over you, taking in this massive, hulking man, this gaunt, tattooed, almost feral-looking elf. This young woman with sort of, dreaded locks and glowing golden skin, and this a filthy, disheveled woman with piercing eyes stand over her.
She's just holding her mouth, going, "Shh, we're not trying to hurt you. Just shh."
Someone's got to have to say something or do something because she's continuing to struggle. So,
I'll move over. Millie will move over and just try to calm her down. We're not here to hurt you. We have been defending a portion of the city for a while and heard some voices in here. You need help. We get you somewhere safer than this.
her brows sort of beetle down, your hand still over her mouth. She seems to be considering. She looks over each of you. She nods very slowly.
Lena, you can remove your hand.
Oh, right. She takes her hand off.
She seems to search both of your faces. I think I know you by description. Seen a couple of posters of you in the precinct. Not exactly trusted by most, although you're apparently given a kind hand. She nods to Millie, by some of the watch folk. But you're allies now, I'd say. Not with the goblins. You don't smell like 'em. No heads dangling from your belts. You would have killed me if you were.
No, we've eliminated quite a few of those goblins.
Like to see that. What does X start to say?
I was just gonna say, keep your voices down. There might be goblins in this house.
Oh, we know. I drew short straw to sit downstairs. I got a few other of us holed up upstairs. Guards, a couple of townsfolk. Survived the first day together. Been hiding here ever since. They're getting hungry and desperate. We were thinking about making a move and doing some scouting about.
The town square has been made safe.
That right. Ephraim thought that might have been the case. Thought he heard fighting over there. He said anywhere there's fighting, goblins aren't just slaughtering. That's good hope. Best we've heard since. Well, if I can have my crossbow back, you all should go down the hall and up the stairs. Summer day is the password. You'll see the door. It's got a gold placard knocker on it. Summer day.
Summer day. Okay.
Open without shooting, though. We all open without saying, so we'll all die. They got some alchemist fire up there. They got it from the precinct.
And we'll go talk to them. Would you be open to heading to the square if everyone was?
Evram's in charge of the group. He's kept us alive. So if Evram says so, I'd be glad for it.
Very well.
Does Lokag say anything as you kind of come into the room, looming over this young lady inadvertently? You're muted, by the way.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
No, he is not saying anything. He's trying to look non-threatening, as big as he is, and he's pasted big old toothy grin on his face. It might be coming off as a snarl, but he's trying to make it a smile. So it's just like,
She kind of looks at you toward the end as some of you start to filter past her. But some of us are still gunning for a fight, if you all are still looking for one. She's eyeing you as you pass, that grin on your face.
oh, we are looking for one, just not here.
It's well met, she calls as you all move down the hall toward the stairs. As you mount the heavy stone staircase, moving up to the second floor, stepping off onto the landing and moving out into a large foyer that circles the stairway. You do see a large door with a large shining brass placard and knocker on it. No guards posted outside, and it's as quiet as a grave inside. Their words have quieted down. You can sense the tension inside the room, X and Millie. So as you all approach, who calls out the password?
Millie probably would. Summer day.
Summer will return. You hear a tentative reply from the inside with a question mark in their voice. They're not sure who it was that said, but you hear a bar being removed. You hear a bolt being unthrown. You hear furniture being scooted and moved. And make insight checks as you hear clattering and jangling of small chains on the other side of the door. Everybody can make those insight checks, but Millie, they must have trapped this. You can hear a spring, steel cable, something pinging on glass, and you're envisioning a glass globe, a small spring and striker, and a tripwire or something attached to the door. You're imagining, around the outside, the other side of the door, at least around it, positively littered with orbs of alchemist fire. Helena, yeah, you hear multiple bolts and defenses on this door, and you're glad you got the passcode because you've run across some devious traps in your time surviving the city, even before this point. And especially some of the growers that grow really fancy and expensive herbs, and the brewers that make really fine liqueurs, they have some devious and deadly traps on their warehouses, which you have run afoul of. And Millie, you maybe have lost a friend, or a friend lost the use of one or more limbs, trying to enrich yourselves on a summer evening.
So, Helena comments, she goes, some nice hardware you got there in the door.
The door cranes open. There's an old, seamed, weathered face of a half-elven man who should have retired from the city watch, several seasons back. And the two of you recognize Evram. You've both ran afoul of him. He is extremely, he's mean in public, but he's actually one of the nicer guards. He's let you both off, and he's actually fed you both from his own rations before. But, as usual around other people, he is very stiff, very, hard face, gleam of suspicion in his eyes, as if he knows you've broken some law and he'll find out what it is. You can see a few days of growth stubble on his face. There's a heavy-set dwarf who looks a little bit like one of the dwarven guards from the square. And a clustering of other guards. You recognize a human and another half-dwarf, and the shorter one is it takes you a moment to realize it's a halfling and not a gnome. The lines of grease and grime sweated down into his pores, and the lines of his face kind of made it hard to tell. Evram says, looks at you as opens the door. Glad for it, too. Good to see more survivors. We don't have any food. and this is not a safe place for longer. There's goblins resting nearby. We narrowly
We aren't
escaped
here
them.
for food,
Well, that's a
but we are
relief.
here to inform you of a safer place, perhaps. At least there's more people who know how to help defend themselves, defend others.
Millie? Is that you? God, you've
Yes.
changed, child.
Then inside the stone thing.
His eyes open wide for a brief moment as he seems to refocus on you. I couldn't be anything else. Couldn't be anything else. Seems to, like that last note is sort of vague, and he gets a far off look in his eye for a brief moment. And he smiles. It's a sudden, incongruous thing on that hard, seamed features, grime-caked as they are. A scion of the fire, says the old guard. Well, a sight for eyes in need.
Quite know what that means, but I'm glad it helps.
Don't know.
Yeah, there's folk gathering at the town square. That is the one that was here during the initial falling of the thing, and defended it from several attacks.
We had some wager among us. We heard the fighting, not once, not twice, and the third time, we heard the ragged, the venting of fury after your battle. We've heard that fire die down in other places across the city, but I had hoped that someone stood fast in the market square, an auspicious place. Yes, market square, the eatery, and yes, with the statue. Well, we could be ready to travel. We've not much here to keep us. What is... It pauses for a moment as the half-elf looks at X. You definitely know this person. Now, this person shares something of your familial appearance. Up to you if it's just someone who's a far distant cousin or if it's a closer relation that lives in the city. And you can also field this later too. We can get back to it next session, perhaps.
It'll be a distant relative. I feel like X is kind of a loner.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, you get again that sort of look of, do I recognize this person? But that sort of look of searching into the past for a face that matches yours comes with it. But they don't say anything. They just seem to nod, and he looks at Helena and says, "My, what a day. I never thought I would see you as my deliverer, well, not so young, Helena." Huh.
Well, I never thought I'd see the day to be called anything positive. So, we're on the same page.
Always been a survivor, but now you're something more, I would expect. You all...
Taller.
Go ahead.
Taller. It's taller, isn't it?
There's an authority you wear. You didn't wear before.
Yeah, that's called being taller.
The halfling gives a good chuckle. It explodes out of the young man, as if just waiting for something to pierce the bubble of tension and let relief An idiot, goofy grin splits his face, and he seems to lose control, his shoulders shaking. Tears begin to leak out in the young halfling's eyes, and finally he leans back and wipes them off. He gives an apologetic look to Evram, who's sort of looking down. Turns back. We'll gladly follow you out. Say the word. I will warn you, there are goblins in the next building. Luckily, we have thick walls. The goblins are quite lazy, and our first set of traps, they haven't wanted to test the doors again because of them. Plus, we forced them out with extreme prejudice the day of the Stonefall. But they'll take their opportunities if they hear us in the streets. They'll fire their arrows and summon their unwashed allies. Athel sort of smiles again. Go ahead. I'm sorry, I didn't quite catch that.
We heard some of them out
In the street?
at buildings nearby.
Yes. They hide, fight over their loots during the day, eating, well, unthinkable things. At night, they venture out. We were just about to venture out to find supplies, so as you can see, we're ready.
What you all think? That's Lokak. Lena, Cliff, we escort everyone back to camp. Lena and myself will go to camp.
It's promising, says Cliff. I don't like splitting us up, but some of us could hold up here, and the urchins, the twins, you all could slip through the sewers and maybe escort these friends, but what if you run afoul of another one of those gel cubes?
Make quick work of them.
Well, all of us did, but the two of you, fierce as you are, that thing soaked up some arrows before it fell apart, didn't it? Well, we can hold up here if need be for longer, says Evram, adding his 2 cents in. But we are eager to leave. We're rested and ready, whatever you decide. Good to know, says Clifford. Well, buddy, what do you think? Clifford slaps Lokak in the chest again with the back of his hand. You're pretty quiet.
I don't relish going back through the sewers, but it may be good to stay here and watch the patterns on the wall. We saw some movement up there. You, guard person, what can you tell me of goblin patrols and guard around this gate, around this wall?
I haven't seen too many. I know that I haven't seen many, but I know that occasionally one lone goblin will sneak out, trying to gain advantage over its allies. I assume find some loot that's missing. I've seen at least three times, one in robes with a crooked stick, wizard or priest of some sort. Seen one around the walls. They had, they had taken over the precinct, taken over the gates. But then it seems that they abandoned them. Maybe there's some coming back to scout around, or one of these ones out for their own glory. Braver than the rest of the wretches, seeking something the rest of their allies didn't find, or I couldn't say. But if they are, go ahead.
We are seeking a path to the stone. Is there a window with a vantage point to this gate? And do you know any secretive, more subtle ways over, under, through this wall to get to our goal, destination.
Well, that window there, he points to sort of the northeastern wall. You can see the gate proper from there. Mind anything looking if you go toward the window. There's doors that flank the gates, doors into the precincts, but also through the walls. I have a key. I would gladly pass into Millie's hands. That would get you through to the other side. Within, I'd say, 150 feet of the wall is the bulk of that massive rock dropped on us. And, local rumor and tales about the city say that one of the some of the basements closer to the wall have maybe a sealed off area, old tunnels that used to go to the precinct. Might be possible to find them. Could be possible. The invaders have found them already. If they've delved down to the bottom of the precinct. They got their hands on some of our alchemist fire. We couldn't get it all out, but we do have a good case left. That's 14 vials of alchemist fire. That's what's kept us alive so far. I'm sure we can use it in the square, no?
I think so.
Absolutely.
Well, if I could say, says the halfling, probably do our hearts all good to take out the goblins in that house. Currently more than 8 of them. 8. They're dug in. They're fat as ticks. Got replenished weapons and hungry for a fight. 8 of them. But you all could probably make work of them. Maybe together. But getting us safe is the first goal, he says to the rest of the guards. But, he turns to Millie, if you think it best to take these goblins out, we'll stand fast for it. Just conversation kind of sort of drifts and scurries one way or the other as new thoughts come out and new information is sort of brought to light. They seem willing, to fight the goblins. They said that there's 8, but Millie, you expect that there's going to be at least 12, judging by some of the recent signs you've seen around, just in the crossing of the square, or of the road. And based on the sounds, X, you heard from inside, you think you heard 5 or 6 of them awake, and they can't all be awake at one time. If they were all awake and loud and fighting, it would have been a lot louder. So you suspect there's more than 8 as well. They're dug into a house. It's not as simple a fight as the halfling seems to make it seem. But it's definitely not impossible. And apparently from what is briefly described by the halfling, saying that they're, half armed and unarmored. So you think it's just sort of the dust goblins, as you all have started to call them. The disheveled, poorly equipped and armored goblins. But still, 12 of them could put some troubles to you. But perhaps you got alchemist fire, maybe you could, make quick work of them through the stone house. You don't have to worry too much about the house burning down, except for the furniture.
Perhaps we could smoke them out.
Very possible. There is a lot of foliage, gardens, vines, flowers planted around many of the houses. Most of the kitchens have herbs hanging, large bundles of flavored herbs hanging. Kindling for firewood is in large containers next to the fireplace. Most of the houses around here have similar things. It's not something the goblins would have looted. So.
Okay, okay. Now, thanks. We take out the goblins.
We
Before-
could make noise and draw them here, set up an ambush.
Lokak, what are your thoughts?
I like the idea of fighting them in one of these houses may draw less attention from the wall. The less goblins we draw from there, the better. I'm sure they are endless from that side.
Aye, there is a side entrance you could use. It comes out close to the house to the north. Should be able to slip out unnoticed by anyone on the wall, and if you're clever, by anyone in the house. Well,
Perhaps we take out the ones in the house next door, but try and do it as quietly as possible. There's no honor and glory dying in a futile struggle. It must be a fair match.
I was with you most of the way, says Evram. It grins. What about Helena? What are her thoughts on this? She might not want to deal with the goblins at all, or she might be eager to remove a threat to her ratlings.
I think she's eager.
Yeah?
I think she's definitely eager to, but she's not going to move in without her rat pack.
Mm-hmm. And your rat pack just keeps growing. Here's 5 more rats, a 6th one downstairs. All right. So it seems like you all are unanimous. It seems that mostly anybody think it's a really bad idea to fight the goblins and just want to avoid them. Clifford just shrugs and says, well, I'll shoot one way, I'll shoot the other. Don't care which. So, all right. So as Evram sort of gestures for you all to sit, the halfling jumps up, drags some other chairs in from another room. There's a rough, there's parchment has been sort of, looks like the blank pages out of books have been pulled out and like sort of stuck together with wax, and they've scrawled out a rough map of the sort of 6-block radius around this house. And so they kind of lay out the different entrances to the houses themselves, say that there's a possibility that the 2 basements connect. There's a wall that looks newer in the basement. It's on the northwestern or northeastern side. It's possible that collapsing this could lead to the basement of the northern house, which could give you another avenue in. So we'll start to discuss the plans, and you all can make insight checks once more. As a young halfling, most of the guards are also, or the people are kind of throwing in ideas. Millie and Lokag. Well, let's start first with Lokag. Lokag, Evram, and the other guards, and the one townsperson who's wearing guard's armor, all are very impressed with how quickly you all start laying out different possible plans, highlight the problems with these plans. And Millie, you notice this too, not the least of which is the ancient Evram. He's been around as long as you can remember, any of you, and he was old then. And he occasionally will nod, sort of looking down for a moment as if he thoughts, and then, sort of his eyes will brighten and look at the person and nod, with rich approval. Well reasoned, he says, and he says that over and over again throughout the discussion. And you can sense the relief on the other guards and the halfling, who you don't think was a guard before this. The relief, and now their attention. And Lokag and Millie, you notice that now they're sort of paying almost as much attention to you as they were to Evram. Might be a problem for him later on, but they seem to be listening aptly and willing to follow whatever orders are laid out for you. The halfling keeps looking at Helena, however. And Helena, this person looks vaguely familiar underneath the layers of grit. You think you recognize this person, and the sort of look of recognition is dawning on the halfling's face as they look at Helena. You see their eyes widen as they realize who you are. Helena, you can make a history or insight check to see if you remember this person. But as their eyes widen, they open their mouth, an angry look blossoms over the halfling's small face. But with an audible click of his teeth, clamps his jaw shut.
She Rolling that 20.
Nice, 22. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. This is a butcher family. They also have a fat rendering plant. And there's fats from certain animals mixed with some other special, concoctions of different herbs that you find down in the sewers is one of the ways that you find a cheap way to cure your hides and to preserve the furs on your leathers. It's quite stinky, but you did steal tallow from this fellow's over and over again from his warehouse through different means. Sometimes the last of which was to move up outright when he was dealing with a very high dollar customer, making eye contact with him and picking up the barrel and walking away. And he recognizes you, but for whatever reason, doesn't say a word to Helena. He looks away. You can see the anger on his face. And he's sort of out of the planning and doesn't really say much more for the rest of it. But he doesn't say anything to Helena.
He just awkwardly smiles and looks around like,
So as you all, tumble out and begin to go through your plans and thinking of different avenues, slipping across the alley through a side door, sneaking into the side of this house, climbing up the side to one of the windows to the top floor where the goblins are, seeing if Lokag can break through a basement wall and climb in from beneath them, or you could try to enter from multiple avenues and pin them down, although that gets a little complicated and you could be out of position, or an ally with no support would be in a bad position. But as you talk it over with 6 townsfolk that you have, for the moment, rescued and secured, one house over from a goblin house, and near enough to your immediate goal of the precinct where supplies might be, and the stone beyond that, with the sort of blossoming and dawning looks of respect from a very old member of the watch. Time slows to an imperceptible crawl for your characters as they're sort of frozen in this moment of imagining, and we can sort of pull back, phasing through the stone roof tiles of the house, looking at the streets nearby, smoke billowing from some still burning houses, sort of rising up from the ground. Even still, we can see over the wall, we can see the broken and blasted houses that were flattened by a shockwave of and falling rubble that's cascaded up. You see the area sort of full of rubble of collapsed houses and whatever was kicked up from the falling stone itself. Fires dot this area as if whatever else is burnable has been put to the torch. And around several of these blazing buildings, it seem to be hearths now. There are goblin camps here and there on the other side of the wall. And panning out further still, we can see this city tumbling down over these hills down to the river that sort of bends around the base of the hill. We can see smoke rising from the docks. We can see movement down at the docks as they defend against their own large incursion of goblins from the stone. It seems another place of resistance. And somewhere further to the northwest of the market square, where for a few days you had been hearing fighting and resistance, there's now only fires and capering forms of goblins. So, we'll start out next point right here, and you all can decide how you're going to enter. We can talk about it through the next week, how you want to enter this place. And we can hear from chat what they think our party should do as far as its approach. But for now, I'm going to go ahead and send out another invitation for our Discord channel for any of our viewers that want to come in and be townsfolk in the square and help the party decide how and when and where and what to do, and even sort of work toward crafting things in chat that then they'll be able to use when they go on into the stone. So here is your... Oh, where is it? Bum, 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 bum. Here's our invite incoming here in chat. for our Discord server. DL, if you'd one more time throw your link into chat for your most recent video or your channel or whichever. Heck yeah. And let's check in on, let's check in pretty briefly. I know a lot of us have work tomorrow, viewers and players, but just briefly, let's check in and either talk about how, if there was a high point in the session, a cool moment of role play, something you're nervous about for next time, or a plan you're excited for. Let's just pick one maybe this time and share a thought. DL, Master X Locator, what are you thinking? What do you want to? What thoughts do you want to share with the group?
There are goblins everywhere. So, I mean, we're on a mission to kill goblins, and I feel like X would not want to leave goblins alive in the house.
Yeah.
But I also feel the urgency of getting back into the stone and getting people out.
Yeah.
It's interesting how many different directions we get pulled like all the time. So that's fun.
Well, I don't run a straightforward by the book whiteboard theory crafted campaign. I do not. I try to make a living scenario with decisions that frickin' matter. Like, do these people live? Do these people live? Like that kind of stuff. So I'm glad y'all enjoy it. Well, Big Bri, how about you?
I actually felt pretty good about the town square when we were leaving. I felt like they were well underway, and then finding this group of survivors makes it. I'm glad that we found some reinforcements. Gotta make sure they get there safely, whether that's they try and do it on their own or we escort them.
Mm-hmm.
But I think we've got a lot of we got a lot of stuff to look forward to next session. Every time we end, I'm like, yes, this is what we're gonna do next time. Yes, this is what we're gonna do next time. So
that's my goal. Heck yeah. Okay, Jay Fink, how about you?
Yeah, I'm excited to see kind of how this house raid thing goes. The goblins next time, and curious as to how these new people, what their impressions of our group will be after we do these things.
It might be much higher than it already is. Much better than it already is. Heck yeah. Well, how about you, Pon Pon?
Well, first and foremost, I had a great time as Helena tonight.
Yeah.
I think now I'm just like, oh crap, like there's this random guy that I stole stuff from. So she's kind of more like concerned with the immediate.
Fair.
Was not expecting that. That's pretty funny. I don't know. Other than that, I think it was just nice to feel like Helena's experience is worth something. Like being in the sewers, and it's really strange to play a character that has obviously felt like kind of on the outside of things and not very like useful in terms of society, to being someone that people look at differently now, even though she doesn't know how to interpret that.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. I think that was a lot of the feelings I was having tonight.
Heck yeah. Well, for my part, I enjoyed this session because there was a little bit of downtime. You get to get a little bit of insight into how the townsfolk are reacting to all of you, what their thoughts, get a sense of sort of new strength, like they leveled up a little bit. Not in the same way that you all did. They're not heroic people, so they're just townsfolk, but they got a few more hit points, another bonus to their attack roll. They can, they're not being trained in how to use some weapons, and so yeah, they're a lot more capable. And it was fun to go through that, and the nitty gritty of like who you're leaving behind, how you're dealing with X problem and Y. That's nice, but then getting back into it and doing some exploration, and that you all took out really well, thanks to Helena's senses on it. You all took out that cube, which is a pretty daunting enemy if it gets the drop on you, if it's within range. But in this situation, literally the way the dice landed, that was a random encounter. Heck yeah. So not every combat's going to be knock down, drag out. There will be some easy wins here and there. Just like, sometimes altercations are very, very short sometimes in life and in D&D. So yeah, I don't know. It's hard to say a favorite moment, but I like this part of the campaign where y'all are starting to feel like, okay, we're not just on our heels the whole time. We can make some decisions. We've got some tools and some resources, and we've got some different options. We've got some townsfolk that survived and have leveled up. We found some new villagers, but then every bonus that you all get, there's a decision that needs to be made. And what's going to be served first, and what's going to have the potential to sort of spin out of your hands beyond you. So y'all are doing a great job, just tending things, and like it's a complicated scenario, and I just hope y'all are having as fun as I am, as much fun as I am, because this is I love the way y'all are moving through it and role playing and everything. For the viewers, I missed a beat this session. I did not allow you to put toward a healing potion. I think I missed that. I'll do better next session, I promise. I'll go ahead and give a free one this time, since I messed up this time. Well, with that being said, Mythlanders, players, and friends, viewers in the audience, we're going to sign off for the evening. Here in just a moment, though, we're going to raid out to somebody. So if anybody has good suggestions on who we raid out to, please give us those recommendations. Especially if it's someone in chat you have a friend who's starting out or needs some support, or you think the rest of our viewers would be interested in. For myself, you all know I'm DM Feanor. I run D&D games throughout the week, weekday, middle of the week, evenings on Roll20. You can find me on Discord and Roll20. You can find me here on Twitch and at various other places as well. I'm going to drop my link tree for everybody in our chat. I've been working on some stuff on Patreon, and you can come over and follow me for free, and you can get access to some maps I'm making, and get access to some of my content. You're welcome to test it out, throw it into your own campaigns if you like, or throw it at your dungeon master and be like, hey, use this. So I'm going to get some stuff going on Patreon as well, and y'all have a great week. Thanks for joining us for Monday night. Take care of yourselves. If you're having a rough week, take a deep breath. Reach out to any of us in chat. You got friends here. So if you need just a steadying ear, reach out to me, and we'll talk. I'll see a good portion of you all in game this week, and the rest of y'all I'll see in game next week. Have a good week. Take good care of yourselves, and thanks again, everybody. Let's see here. Who to raid out to?
I haven't heard of these ones, but New Age Geeks, they look like they could use some love, and they look pretty fun.
All right. Let's see here. Fears and Fables. What's up with that one, Joe?
They're just starting a new part of their second campaign.
Okay. Who's got the fewest viewers?
2024.
How many viewers do they have right now?
13.
And Joe, how about Fears and Fables? How many viewers they got at the moment?
They got 70 and change.
Okay. Pon, let's raid the one that you were talking about.
Okay.
Thanks, gang. Thanks, Quentin. Thank you, Small Wonder. Thank you, Jar Jar. Let's see here. I think. All right, and Teal Seal, Potato Queen. Thanks, everybody, so much.
Ready to raid?
Ready to raid. Good night, everybody. Have a great week.
Night.
See you in the Mythlands. All right. I think. Did not look like it went.
It jumps, but I still see one.
Okay, cool. Well, I'm going to transition over to the stream ended picture. And just in case, put on some peaceful music. In case it's not actually working. Yeah, sometimes I just don't know what to make of what I'm seeing. It says welcome to chat room, so that should mean that I'm in a new chat room.
Yeah. Looks like everyone went over there. My eyeballs are dying.
Yeah. Y'all, great game. Great session tonight. This was really fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was good. I feel really good about it.
Same.